Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am once again with another warrior. Or as you know that I always talk to person who had done something exceptional in their life. And today we are going to talk with Brigadier Ajoy uh, Mukherjee, who is twice Sena Medal, twice Chief of Army Staff Commendation Card, and twice Army Commander Commendation Card, and including विशिष्ट सेवा मेडल. एंड इनकी जो कहानी है बहुत ही रोमांचक कहानी है. ये 2 पैरा एसएफ में कमीशन हुए और उसके बाद इन्होंने जो ऑपरेशंस किए हैं बहुत ही काबिल तारीफ हैं. उनमें से जो एक ऑपरेशन खुफरी है जो इन्होंने सेरा लियोन साउथ अफ्रीका में किया, वो बहुत ही चैलेंजिंग ऑपरेशन है. उसके बारे में भी हम बात करेंगे. और वैसे बेसिकली ये बीएससी ग्रेजुएट हैं और उसके बाद ही इन्होंने साइंस को छोड़ के आर्मी को ज्वाइन किया. आर्मी को इन्होंने प्रेफरेंस दी एंड उसके बाद पैरा स्पेशल फोर्सेस में गए. वहाँ करीब 9 साल इन्होंने जेएंडके में एज ए असॉल्ट टीम लीडर की तरह काम किया. और फिर उसके बाद बहुत सारे अपॉइंटमेंट, कमांड की आरा बटालियन, उसके बाद ब्रिगेड कमांड किया और उस बीच में फॉरेन जो यूएन मिशन किया. सो इससे ज्यादा मैं बताऊं कि अभी इन्हीं से पूछते हैं. सो ब्रिगेडियर अजय, वेलकम टू द शो विच आई कॉल इट विल लाइफ लाइक ए वॉरियर.
Thank you, sir. It's an honor to be here and really looking forward to a great interaction. And whatever I can share my experience, if it benefits people, definitely that's the way it should go.
Certainly, it will definitely benefit Ajay because you got a vast experience of operations or as such life itself. सबसे पहले ब्रिगेडियर अजय कि आप बताइए कि आई बिलीव आपका फैमिली बैकग्राउंड में यूनिफॉर्म लोग थे. आपके फादर भी आई थिंक एयरफोर्स में थे.
Bringing my father was just a sergeant, technical sergeant in Air Force, but I lost him when I was barely 8.5 years old. So, and before that, there's nobody in the from the forces. And having lost my father at an early age of 8.5 years, and virtually thereafter, I had absolutely a civilian upbringing in Calcutta. So I grew up in Calcutta. So the only connection probably with the defense or central government, for that matter, is that I studied in Central School Kendriya Vidyalaya, Fort William. So that is the loose connection that I had. Otherwise, my growing up has been totally a civilian upbringing, sir.
Okay, so you can tell a little bit about your schooling and then how you finally opted for joining the Indian Army.
Like I said, that till the time my father was alive, and that time my Kashmir mein posted the good old days of 1975-76, and on our way down in summer holidays, in a train accident, I lost my father, and thereafter we grew up in Calcutta, and so I got admission in Central School Fort William. And from class 4th onwards till I completed my school's 12th, I studied in Fort William, Calcutta. And in the school, basically, I was just an average student with a little bit of sports capability. Like most of the bong, I also used to play good football. I was slightly better. And so right from class 7th onwards, I started representing my school. And in class 12th, I was also the school captain. Some of the teachers and the students, juniors liked me a lot. So I was the school captain also. And after finishing school, I wanted to actually study. So at that time, Forge was not exactly in the horizon. And like my friends, I got a very good group of friends. So I wanted to study initially deeply, motivated by Indiana Jones movies. So in that line, I wanted to go. So I wanted to study anthropology and such subjects. So I applied in Jadavpur University to study that. So I applied through sports quota. But somehow that year, the sports quota got cancelled at the last moment. And then the next best subject, my favorite subject was physics. So I wanted to study physics honors, but I was a bit late because I was actually told that I will get into the Jadavpur University, but at the last moment they scrapped sports quota. Luckily, through a family connection, our family doctor, one of his patients was a professor from Calcutta University. So she was talked, and then she took me to the head of the department of physics in one of these colleges in Calcutta University. And the funny part is, to study physics honors, all the certificates that I carried was of football. I had played nationals before that, and school nationals and all. So luckily my marks were good enough also. So the head of the department agreed to take me on condition that I should play football I should represent the college also. So I said, fine, I'll do that. But that was, I think, probably the last day I played football, because physics honors was very, very demanding. I would say 20 hours out of 24 was buried in the books only. Till the time I joined Forge again and restarted playing football.
Okay.
So that was the physics was my passion somehow. So I was also one of the subject was electronics. That was my hobby before, and that during my batch, that physics honors and computer science got introduced as a subject in BSc. And so electronics, because of a hobby, so I opted for. So there was an entrance test, and luckily I cleared that, and I opted. So my subjects were physics honors, electronics, and mathematics, primary subjects, and that is how I studied BSc physics honors. And now I have to pinch myself to actually, realize that, did I actually clear physics honors? My goodness. So it was like that. But honestly, I was not that great a studious person. I used to play football at that time, and I was playing in club, so in Calcutta League, and I totally give the credit for my clearing physics honors to my friends, group of friends. So I had a close-knit group of friends in my college, and I totally give credit to them for my passing physics honors with good numbers. Electronics since it was my favorite, and so I was pretty good at it. I can boast a little bit on that. I don't remember anything of them now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Brig Ajoy, see, electronics आपका favorite था, फिजिक्स में आपने 20-20 घंटे पढ़ाई की, तो ये आर्मी कहाँ से बीच में आई? How did you got inclined toward that?
So थोड़ा बहुत वो था कि like my mother also wanted, because mother actually seen the Air Force life, and I was actually post graduation, immediately finishing the graduation. So I was doing a little bit of part-time job, and I was preparing for IIM, and so I was studying, and in between I appeared for CDS exam, and went for interview also, and so those things I cleared. And I had appeared for all other, those days it was like fixed, XLRI, Jamna Lal Bajaj, IIM. So IIM exam was in month of October. And but deep in heart, I wanted to have a little bit of adventurous life. So one is that, okay, the mainstream, go do MBA and then join a mainstream corporate job. But somewhere deep inside the mind and a heart, that little bit of adventure was there. And I used to play, so I was physically fit, and, bongs are slightly maverick in their nature. So there a little bit of maverick thing was there in me. And I cleared the exam, I cleared the SSB. And suddenly one day when I was coming back, I saw my mom standing on the veranda, and with a serious look. So when I came up, I said, what happened? He says, your joining letter has come. I said, where? Which joining? He says, Indian Military Academy. So it was not that, the interaction was a little bit, reserved from both sides. And she asked, what do you want to do? So I said, one in hand is better than two in the bush. And I knew deep inside, my mom also wanted me to join forces. And so I said, fine, I will go. And that's how I landed up. But the other thing is that before joining that, I had no clue about the army. What are the branches? What are the things? I have absolutely zero knowledge about those. I just knew there's an army. That's it. So I landed up in IMA.
Fantastic. And Brig Ajoy, ये कौन से क्लब के लिए खेलते थे आप जब कलकत्ता में?
So, हमारे वहाँ टॉलीगंज क्लब होता था, and then I played for second division town club, and then I auditioned for the Tollyganj club. I auditioned for so my mama, one of my uncle, was already playing in first division, and the group that I used to play over there were all the national players, like India players. Those days, a lot of players from Calcutta were playing in India, and Mohun Bagan, East Bengal, and so other than the league, the other places that I used to play, they had all these players. So my exposure to all the then top ranking players was like regularly I used to play with them. And I was quite a young guy, and they used to like it. Acha, chota bhai type ka chalo, So it was good fun those days. So yeah,
In
I
fact,
played for precisely, I think, 2 years finally, because after class 12th, you have to sign a bond, and you have to register with the Indian Football Federation, and then join the club and all. But balancing the college and the club became impossible.
some football enthusiast, Arpita Roy, online, she has asked this question. That's why I asked
Okay.
you. Yeah.
Okay.
People are already on the testing.
So I auditioned for Kalighat also, if they know. I don't know. I mean, nowadays you don't hear these names at all.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So one thing, Brigadier Roy, that you didn't have much of such some background of army people are groomed up or
No, not at all.
not at all. So what did you find that SSB? Do you remember any specific moment where you?
Oh yes, the SSB was classic actually.
Yeah. Would you like to
So
share?
in this SSB, yes. So what happened was, in my SSB, the group, whenever the group discussion and everything was happening, so there was another.
Mic थोड़ा सा pass कर.
Okay, can you hear me now clearly?
Yeah.
Now is it okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so the unique thing that happened over there was, there was another candidate who later became my course mate, and NK Yadav. Now NK and self became two poles in that whole group, and in the whole group we kept fighting. So even in the group discussion, the whole group got divided into two parts. 50% is supporting me, 50% supporting him. And I remember the GTO task. There were so many arguments, so much of argument, we couldn't even cross the first obstacle. Okay, so we were very sure that this batch is going to go wash out. None of us are going to get selected. But a little bit of knowledge of science and all these things, so it probably helped. And can you imagine, out of this whole batch, whom we actually were sanguine that we will all be scrapped, only 2% got selected. It was me and NK Yadav. And second thing I remember of my interview, the final interview over there with the officer, we had a very longish interview. And in that interview, we discussed primarily about one of my hobby, that was music. And I would say more than 50% time was probably, he was also interested in music, and the way I categorized music and how, there was a lot of detailed discussion in what kind of music that I was listening to, how I collect those music. And those days it was cassettes, and either LP records and cassettes and all. So there, I narrated the story as to how I build up my collection, and what all people I hear. So that was amazing. And for half the interview was purely talking on music, and somehow I was lucky enough to get selected.
So in fact, the interviewer must also be aware of the music. That's why he must.
Of course, yeah. The names that I took, which was way ahead of various generations. I had a thorough. I did a lot of research on, so primarily English music at that time, and so Calcutta had got streets which deals in old records, those LP records. Okay, so I would first research, and those days there was no internet. Of course, there was no computer. So I used to go hire books. So I used to go to British Library, check on a particular group, read about them. Go and you can hire a LP. Okay, so like 25 rupees or 20 rupees, you can hire a LP, a record. So you bring it home, wash it, play it, and select one song out of it and record it in a cassette. So that is how you build up a classic collection of a particular era of those music. So I got about 4 or 5 such cassettes. each song on those days would have costed me nothing less than 25 to 30 rupees. And mind you, that like I never had any pocket money. So I used to teach young students, and I used to earn my money right from my class 8 standard. So I used to teach the young children, and I used to whatever money I used to get, that was my money. So this, I would say that those days, one cassette, so each side of the cassette would contain about 20 odd songs. Each song rated about 20, 25 rupees. That much of money I spend on those cassettes. Those are still there with me.
Good memories. Fantastic.
Yeah, great memories. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
In fact, one thing which you said about this SLV, I have gone through the plenty of interviews, even in army and before army and after army. What interviewer always see that whatever subject you know, whatever topic you pick up, how much deep you know and how confident you are, and that makes your
right.
that makes your
absolutely right. Yeah. And I was also physically fit having playing football. So the physical part was very easy for me.
Yeah.
So what basically, and later I understood that. And then I was a probation officer for quite some time in my unit. What the generation needs to understand is that a positive bend of mind, that is most important.
आपका voice fit down हो गया.
I said the positive bend of mind, that you should have a positive attitude towards life. And that is one aspect which I realized. How composed you are in your thought, that is second. And how quickly you can come out with an innovative solution to any given problem. So these are the aspects probably, help me. One most important is how positive you are towards life. I think that is most important.
So after this, you must have joined the Indian Military Academy. How was the life there? Means, how did you feel going from, especially from the civil background, and finally landing up in the Indian Military Academy?
Yeah, it was initially very tough in the sense that the atmosphere over there, overwhelming. But like again, the football bailed me out. I'll just tell you how. And secondly, your self-discipline. As it is, I was very much tuned to waking up at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning and go for my physicals, go for my run, go for football practice. And when I was playing in the club, morning and evening, both times I used to play. And so that discipline part was already there in me. So that didn't create any problem. And as far as physical, you can say that Ragda Patti and all, that was not such a great thing for me because I could easily do it. I could pass the physical test. So those things were okay. The only thing that hit me most was everybody is broken down in the same denominator. Okay, and that is required so that everybody, because people come from different strata of life and also everybody is broken down. So breaking down period was initially psychologically to a lot of people might be slightly tough. Yes, it was tough for everyone. And being a direct entry, being a first termer, because we have already done college. So there is a major difference with what people go to NDA, people come from India and people coming from IMA, is that we have done college. So in the college actually gives us a little bit of wing and a good understanding of life. Whereas the NDA people, right after school, they had gone and actually, when they come to IMA, they already have gone through 3 years of regimented life. And for us, for the direct entry, this was suddenly getting into a regimented life. So this particular thing was a bit of a, just a couple of months. And after that, everybody settles down. So yeah, everybody settles down. And by and large, again, right from first term, football bailed me out. And I played for my company. And right at the first term, when they saw me playing, so I got selected for the IMA team, the academy team. And so, a little bit of, and if you are good physically, automatically, the things don't become very difficult in IMA. Yeah, I actually enjoyed. So
that is the best part of it. If you enjoy it, you sail through.
Exactly.
And then this was para choice was your first choice, or
okay, that is the funny thing was, since I was from a kind of a technical background, like because electronics, so I was in the science club also in IMA. So the automatic choice which was I was gravitating towards was signals. So signals, it's about telecommunication, and they handle telecommunication, EW, cyber for the army. So more or less everybody thought that, okay, this guy is a techie guy and he will join that. And so our, in academy, and especially for us direct entry, and especially for the people who have come from civilian background, our opinion is greatly shaped by the directing staff or the instructors who are posted there. Okay, they have a great influence in our mind in which particular arm that we join or which particular stream that we go. Now, the other gentlemen cadets who are from the forces background, they have their parents and their family to guide them. For me, there was no one. So my mind was getting shaped by what I saw in the instructors and how they were. Though it is quite immaturish now, you actually think back. And so we had a signals instructor and there are technical instructors. So initially I thought, no, signals I will not go. But then there were engineers, there is EME, these are the technical arms. All my course mates also thought that, okay, I will join either, any one of them. In second term, what happened, because of that adventure streak, I volunteered to go for para jump as an adventure activity. So during the term break, people are either you go home or you opt for one adventure activity. So I opted to go for para jumps. So I did the para jumps. I found it very exciting. And that was second term finished. Now, the funny part is, in my final, so when you actually finish your third term, there is a choice of arms exercise. As you are aware, sir, that we sit down in a hall and then is given, and you are supposed to write which particular regiment that you want to join. And my friends were sitting next to me and also that everybody by that time had made up their mind. More or less, they were very clear what they want. But I was still not very clear. So when I sat down with the pen and I was about to write, I just thought, how do I see myself 5 years from then? I mean, if I put myself at that time, how do I see myself 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now? Would I like a job sitting behind the terminals and a table and chair and do all these electronic things, or other repair stuff and make bridges, roads and all, and engineers? Or I just do action part? I mean, how do I see myself? Yes, then at that moment, I made a decision, and this is not the life I want. So then I wrote para. I had no clue which para represented what. And those days, there was no SF, so there was only Commando unit, 1, 9, and 10. And we, in our batch, there were a whole lot of volunteers. So I knew that it will be very difficult to crack. I mean, even if I opt to, probably I will not get. So I just took odd numbers, 3, 5, 7. I wrote on 1, 3, 5, I forgot. So I wrote just odd numbers, but I wrote all 3 paras. Now, none of my course mates knew it. That is the funniest part. None of my course mates. I didn't tell anyone. So I just wrote it and came back. I kept quiet. In that whole course, there were only 4 vacancies for paras. Only 4 vacancies. And I was very lucky that I was nominated to go for probation to 2 para.
Oh.
So people were shocked. So how the choice of arms gets declared, the whole battalion sits in a hall and the battalion commander reads out, and before that, okay, what did you opt for? What did you do this, that? Okay. What people didn't know, and people thought that I became a casualty into para. You cannot become a casualty into para, because the moment you do that, there is a volunteer certificate you have to sign. You just don't go to paras. You have to volunteer for it.
Yes.
So my friends didn't know. I actually signed that volunteer certificate when I did that. So I had kept hidden, because you know what, if I didn't get, they would tease me. So I didn't tell anybody. Yeah, they would have said, so I didn't tell anyone. So when this got announced that I got para, everybody was shocked. Well, this guy he's a technical guy. How can he go to para? He must have got casualty into para. I kept quiet. I didn't say anything. So everybody said that, no, this needs to be changed. And all. So they asked me, do you want to change? I said, kept quiet. I said, no, sir, I don't want it to be changed. So to very late in life, my course mates, they still thought that I am a casualty into para. So then later on, I was explaining them. I said, you should have exercised your brain. Do you think without signing that volunteer certificate, anybody would have allotted me? So then they realized, so I was very lucky, and that is how I went for probation. And that was another shocker. And
Yeah.
so very lucky, I would say that. And days in my academy and my upbringing as a footballer, being physically fit, actually helped me that I got through the probation. I got selected for 2 para.
Here, one thing, Brig Ajoy, I would like to know. You went to this 3 Maratha line, huh?
No, sir. 3 Maratha converted to 2 para way
Okay.
back in. There were initially 3 battalions which are nominated after Second World War to
Yeah.
become airborne battalions.
Okay.
So 1, 2, and 3. So 1 para was Punjab, 2
Okay.
para was 3 Maratha, and
Okay.
Kumaon 3 Kumaon was 3. So these 3 battalions in 1945, they were given the honor of converting into Parachute Regiment.
Okay.
The
Okay.
para battalions.
Okay.
So I had joined 2 para, which was earlier 3 Marathas.
Okay.
So in Maratha regiment, there is no 3 Maratha.
Okay.
So we maintain that affiliation.
Okay. Okay.
Like
Okay.
21 SF was 21 Maratha, and they
Yeah.
converted to 21 SF. So there is no
Okay.
21 Maratha anymore.
Okay.
So Maratha regiment maintains that tradition that since that battalion, so battalion affiliation, so 3 Maratha became 2 para. So now we write 2 para SF, but we maintain the umbilical cord with the Maratha regiment is still maintained. We get chunk of volunteers from the Maratha
But
regiment. So we
so,
maintain that.
but then why it is said that it is converted in 2000 as a 2 para?
No, sir. So yes, that was from para to SF. So in the parachute
Acha.
regiment, there are the para battalions, which are like pure airborne units, and they were
Okay.
commando units.
Okay.
So initially, there were only 3, 1, 9, and 10.
Okay.
And then 21 got converted from 21 Maratha directly into 21 para commando. And then 2 para was converted and from 2 para to 2 para commando.
Okay. Okay. That's
Yes.
that's what I just wanted clarification
Yes.
from you.
Sir.
Good. So now, main thing comes when you go for the probation, because I have spoken to a number of special forces officers. This is one thing where everybody has to go through the challenges of life. And what
Yes.
makes a difference is that how strong you are mentally, how mental toughness
Absolutely.
works there. It is the mind over the body.
Yes,
So
sir.
what you found the most difficult part of it, and how did you negotiate that?
Well, everything was tough. And to start with, I would say the very first speed march. So the speed march is basically you carry a 20 kg sandbag put into a rucksack. Those days, the rucksacks were those jute bags, one would have seen in old war movies with pouches and all. And you're supposed to run 20 kilometers, 30 kilometers, and 40 kilometers in a given time frame. So 20 kilometers, if you want to pass that to the standard of the para battalion, you have to do it in less than 2 hours. You have to run 20 kilometers with that 20 kgs of sandbag and the weapon, that those days SLR, which is virtually weighs nearly 5 kgs with his magazine and ammunition, wearing that complete combat dress and those boots also. So the first time when I wore that 20 kg package, so IMA never gave us that exposure. Okay. IMA, we never had this speed march exposure. So when I first time I put that rucksack on my back and I stood up, I said, you guys must be joking. So you can't be carrying this for such a long distance. So anyway, so then you sling the weapon in your hand, and I started marching because it read speed march. So I started walking fast. So my probation officer then, he was slightly ahead of me, who was supposed to pace me, because one officer actually paces you so that you can finish the thing in the right time, because you have no idea that how many kilometers you have to do and what speed and all. So he was like kind of my later on friend, philosopher, and guide into para. Now Colonel Arvind Sharma, and then Major Arvind Sharma. He was standing right as about 10-15 meters ahead, and suddenly he turned around and looked at me. He said, what the hell are you doing? I said, sir, I'm marching. What do you mean I'm marching? I said, sir, it's written speed march. He said, sweetheart, you have to run. You have to run at a particular pace, which I will set it for you, and without that, you will fail. I said, you must be joking, sir. You barely can carry this weight and you expect me to run? Well, yeah. You not only have to run, you have to run within, and you have to finish this within 2 hours. I said, my goodness, how on earth, is that possible? So just see that initial start was that. So I started running. Within 1 odd kilometer, the blister starts forming. So my pack was not that well prepared. And so in between, the guys who were running with me, they told me, okay, pull the, the strap, pull the strap down and get the weight right on top of your neck, look down and run. So this was all happening while running. So I kept on running. So you see, in these speed marches, the body can take up to 4 or 5 kilometers. Then if you listen to the body, you would give up. But then I had that key, before me, everybody must have gone through this. I am no special and I am neither a weakling. If they have gone through it, I will also go through it. So I bit my lip and kept running. It was thereafter, it was a mind over matter. That's it. And the Arvind Sharma paced me. He put me on that pace. And my physical background, a little bit football came in, great help. So I managed to pass it within 2 hours. I managed to finish it. So 20 kilometers, then 30 kilometers, then 40 kilometers. And so I had a very good team of instructors who were actually building me up. So my JCO in charge for my physical was a boxer from the unit. And my goodness, rope. So I used to climb rope. Okay, once go up, come down. He says, again, second time you go. Third time, by the time your hands are tired now. He's like, नहीं, उतरना नहीं है, नीचे नहीं उतरना है, पैर नीचे नहीं रखना. I said, I can barely hang. बोले आप रस्सी को ऐसे के दांत से पकड़ के लटके रहो. दांत से पकड़ लो. Actually, we were biting into the rope and thinking like, how do I keep on hanging, on that rope? So it was funny. And you learn a lot. You learn a lot from the instructors, the Havaldar instructors, the JCU instructors that you have. That was the great period, that probation. One way, yes, it was like terrible time that one can think of, but also the most learning happens in that time.
In fact, after you finish those events or those tasks, whatever you are given, what kind of confidence it must be giving to the probationers at the end of the
It's a great
nothing
feeling
is
of
impossible.
euphoria. It's a great feeling of euphoria when you finish a particular very, very grueling task. Once you finish it successfully, the amount of high that gives you is unimaginable, really unimaginable. Once you finish the speed march, it's amazing. It's really, really amazing feeling to finish. Like there is a thing called stress week. For 1 week, you go through hell last week.
Ajay, before that, I would request you, अपना थोड़ा सा mic को थोड़ा ठीक करो. Volume एकदम down हो रहा है. I don't know.
If I remove this, will it help?
I think you should remove that. Probably पहले ठीक था. आपके लैपटॉप से डायरेक्ट आवाज अच्छी आएगी.
अभी कैसा है सर?
अभी बहुत अच्छा है. अभी बहुत अच्छा है.
Okay, fine. I'm removing my headphone.
It's a perfect now.
Roger, sir.
Yeah.
So, yeah, probation was a good learning phase, great learning phase, I would say. I learned a lot from my instructors about everything, not only about soldiering, but also life in general, how to negotiate tough situations in life. So, that kind of, how to negotiate your fear, because everything we used to doing at night time, and just to convert that night fear to a night advantage was also a great learning. How to manage fear was one of the great learning in probation. But I had an issue earlier, and to a great extent, I managed my fear before joining the army also. In a particular, I was scared of darkness quite a lot, because my village, where I used to go periodically once or twice a year, it was a pure village. So at night, when I used to come back from the market and through the jungle area, so one of my uncle used to tease me and my brother quite a lot, my cousin brother, through the jungles when you're coming out. He will suddenly flash the torch in front of your eyes and he will vanish. And so we were kids, absolutely big kids, and we used to panic like anything. So that darkness thing, as a child, it kept on growing in my head. So when I was growing up, then this is one challenge I have to face. I cannot, and especially when I was playing and all, I cannot let myself be overpowered by this weakness. So in Toliganj, where my house was, there were very old temples right behind my house. Very old, 700, 800 years old temple, which are like half broken. And the football ground was there on. So at night, it used to give a very eerie look. That and they were generally okay. Wahan bhoot hai, this ghost hai, ye hai, wo hai, karke. So there were a lot of stories. At night, nobody used to go there. So then I realized that the only way to break your fear is to face the fear and accept it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I has to actually walk into the field at night alone, go and stand there, first 5 feet, then 10 feet, then 20 feet, go and stand there for half an hour. Then I went up to the broken temple. But of course, there was a problem. There were a lot of snakes there. So initially I has to thrown and then just to overcome the fear. And then during probation, when they used to throw you inside water body with the hand and feet tied and how to negotiate fear and all. So those were like great learning. That's where you learn how to deal with fear.
Actually, fear is nothing but is a false evidence appearing real. So basically,
Yep.
unless you the moment you take action against the fear, it disappears.
Yeah. So fear, I would say, in army, it is taught actually. Fear, panic, how to handle fear, how to handle panic. These are taught. Okay. In my own experience, fear is a good thing. Fear is not bad at all.
Absolutely.
Fear puts the caution in you. Fear also makes you understand the borderline difference between stupidity and foolhardiness, or that and the calculated risk that you take. That fear actually makes you understand that. Hence, I would say that fear is essential. And over the years, you develop your habit to understand fear and use it to your advantage. Later on, now I teach design thinking. I study a lot about this. So fear is also related to discipline, motivation. There is a interconnected, linkages between them. Fear actually helps, can be used to have a bit of a discipline in life and do things which are otherwise you generally don't want to do.
In fact, if I put it, Ajay, in one sentence, that fear is your friend,
Yes.
the familiarity is not. Because fear is the one which makes you do little extra, little better, or to overcome those challenges of your life.
Exactly.
So that way the fear is your friend. You rightly said.
You have to make friendship with the fear.
Yes. Ajay, since you had a background of science or electronics, physics and all, and normally I am also techie, and as you also said that you had a technical bent of mind in your education. Did you ever felt that paralysis of analysis, because the technical person always get into the analysis of the things? And how did you overcome that? Because it's a very important part of life. Normally, जब कोई situation arise होती है, तो जब analysis में पड़ जाते हो, तो हम action लेना भूल जाते हो, and then we don't overcome that situation.
You are very right, sir. This I have realized later part of my life also. And now that I teach design thinking, I can actually quote a very nice example that when you become a master of a particular subject, or you take a very, very deep dive into the subject and you close your mind to the outside world and you think that you have become master of that, you get into a well and you lose touch with how that issue is relating to the environment. I'll give you one example, sir. When I was Commandant Army Airborne Training School, there was this Russian origin parachute, which the reserve parachute has a particular loop, a kind of a loop, small, let's say 1 inch dia or 1.5 inch dia loop. That used to be used to pack the parachute, and it was an important component. And that particular loop had finished, because every time you use it over the years, it gets finished. So when it got finished, the jump from that parachute stopped. So that's the time when I took over Army Airborne Training School, and I asked, what's the problem? So they told me this is one of the problem, that the ring is not there, the loop is not there. So in Agra, there is a DRDO establishment called ADRDE, Aerial Delivery Research and Research Establishment. So ADRDE develops everything which is air deliverable, right, from the parachutes and everything. So they make it like Air Force fighter aircraft brake parachutes and other things. So we sent that sample to ADRD. In ADRD, like a DRDO, are filled with scientists and engineers. So when it went to ADRD, ADRD actually took a deep dive into the thread. They went down into the molecular structure of the rayon that was made over there. And then they finally sent a report. Okay, this loop cannot be made since this thread is not available in India and cannot be imported. That's it. So that finished. So that means we can't jump. So now when we got that report, so I had a technical branch in ATS, they had a technical branch. So I called the officers and I said, okay, let's brainstorm what can be done. So I was fiddling with the thing. I said, what does it do? Let's first understand what does this loop do? So we went to parapacking. So we called the PGIs also, and we all went to parapacking institution. So where the parachutes get back. So I said, okay, show me what does it do. So then they showed me what does it do. Then we realized that all that loop needs was a particular dimension. It should not break from the particular below a particular stress, and it should be smooth enough so that a steel pin should be able to slide out no matter how long it has been kept in storage. Okay. So they said that the same thing can be done, I think, with the para rigging lines, the parachute rigging lines, which are there, the small rigging lines. So I called our tailor, that AATS tailor. I said, can you make this loop with the same dimension? He says, yeah, sir, bana denge, because he was there, he was repairing parachutes. So they made about 10, 12 of those rings made out of the parachute rigging lines. I sent to AATS, again, ADRD. I said, please check the braking strength and match it with the previous one. He says, okay, then the report came, yes, these new loops have higher braking strength than the previous one. So then we realized it can be used. So I gave it to the same loops, I'd given it to the parapacking guys. They packed, and we did trial drops with the mannequins, basically with the same weight. Then I gave it to the PGIs. PGIs jumped and operated them, and it worked. Fantastic. So here lies the issue, what I was telling. All the scientists and engineers of ADRD who are mandated to develop this particular thing, they took such a deep dive, the analysis, and they got paralyzed into how they forgot to check how it interacts in that whole system of reserve parachute. So they couldn't do anything. However, we provided a solution sitting in Army Airborne Training School. So the matter got picked up quite high. Actually, we wrote to Infantry Directorate and then then DRDO. There was a conference, and so they were like they were in the receiving end after that. I said, how can ATS develop something which you bloody buggers, you are scientists, which you can't do? So I guess periodically we always have to take a bird's eye view of all the problems.
Yes.
Which people forget. Pull yourself out. Take a bird's eye view, see how an issue relates to things, and find how we can actually, is there something else which can do the job? Okay. That, that mentality is very much essential in life, which people forget.
Yes. I fully subscribe to that. Out of box thinking is from the bird's eye view, and means you have to find the solution, not the fixated to the technicalities of something, and that is where
to find the right problem.
Yes.
Means
the moment you can find the right problem, you find the solution.
Yes.
If you can't define the problem, how can you find the solution?
Now I teach design thinking. Design thinking is all about that. To identify the right problem. Most of the time we end up solving the wrong problem. That is why nothing gets solved.
Then we find the wrong solution.
Yes, of course. When you're solving the wrong problem, then you will never get the right solution. So,
Ajay, जब आपका ये probation हो गया और you got commission, must have gone through a lot of operations. Would you like to share some operation where definitely there must be a good learning for the life, for the viewers also, as well as for you?
Sir, most, okay, like all, nowadays, though everybody has served in the valley, so everybody has a great stories to tell.
Yeah.
And yes, I have been quite lucky to have had a number of encounters under my belt. And yeah, so one can say that I survived number of times very, very narrowly. And I'm even surprised at how I survived those situations, including my buddies, my radio operator standing behind me gets a bullet which whizzes past my ears. He gets killed, he dies, and I survive. A grenade which blasts through by the militant, which blasted just about 3-4 feet from me. I was alone at that time. Not a single splinter. How the grenade rolled into a small inundation on the ground and the splinters went like this, and I guess somehow got saved. There are many situations that kind of stuff has happened in life, and really, I guess my time was not there for, so that's all. I including survived an avalanche. I was leading a expedition when I was an instructor in IMA. I led an expedition to Kedar Dome, and we got stuck by a bad thunderstorm. We came under an avalanche, survived that 3 days in wilderness. We lost the nursing assistant virtually in my arms. And I was almost giving up hope that, I will not be rescued. And after 3 days, we got rescued. So, yeah, one has a great lot of experience in these kind of stuff. And operations, many, many great operations, many, many great exciting times. The one that comes to my mind immediately, my very, very first operation, my first kill, one would say, was kind of a duel. Suddenly, me and the militant came face to face. We were just 5 to 6 feet apart. And both of us were like, he was also carrying a weapon in a pouch. I was carrying a weapon I was in covert operation in civil dress. So my weapon down, his weapon down, both look at each other, both recognize each other. And it was a matter of who reacts first. But by virtue of better training, I fired first. I could pick up the weapon first and fire first. Both shots to him and managed to knock him out. So yeah, my very first kill was kind of a duel, and that was pretty exciting. And after that, many such incidents have happened.
I believe that was Bashir Afghani.
Yes, sir. That was Bashir Afghani, one of the very senior leader in those days, Hizbul Mujahideen. He used to take out the hit order for eliminating all the, as per them, who are the mukbirs or to send a message. He was the one who used to take out the hit order. So he was the target of all the security forces operating in Valley in South Kashmir. Those days, I was talking about 95, 96, not much of Fauj was there. And there was a huge amount of militants at that time. So like everybody else, this target was also given to me. He was a leader, so he's your target. So a month's end, I was after him. I mean, it was in one month of winters. Every night I used to be out. Every night in like waist deep snow, wading the snow whole night. I actually put in a huge amount of effort to find him. And so one evening, it had actually in month of, I think, 96, in the evening, I was in my camp. And by that time, I was developing sources also, human sources. So it snowed heavily continuously for 3 days. So my post was Shupian. You will hear about Shupian time and again. It was in a base of Pir Punjab, and it receives very heavy snowfall. So and those days, the road conditions were not good. So as it is, the normal road conditions were not good. And 3 days of heavy snowfall, all the road communications were cut off. And so in the evening, I got an input from somewhere. Bashir Afghani was seen near a village called Sadaw, which was approximately 10 to 12 kilometers away from my post. It was further deep into the foothills of Pir Punjab. So I said, okay, any information, we were open. Like one of my thumb rule was no matter what kind of information is there, we will go out. So otherwise the fatigue comes in and then you start selecting which operation to do, which not operation not to do. But we decided, no, we will go. And there was a high chances of this information being good because since all communication, road communications are blocked off, so that guy must be slightly relaxed, that the military will be slightly relaxed. I said, if there's a good chance for me to find him in Sadao, this must be it. So I planned the operation and my squad was basically 8-man squad. So we were 8 of us, including me and 7 guys. So we decided to actually go to that Sadao, and we were dressed in covert, so that if they see us from a distance or even for the villages, they will not recognize us. So even that 8 of us, when we walk in twos, 2 guys, then there is a gap, then another 2 guys, then another guy, like that, loose kind of a formation. And I had about 1 platoon strength, that's about 20 odd guys, 20, 30 odd guys, which was to follow me after 1 hour of gap, so that in case we get stuck somewhere badly, I can always call upon them to come and support us. So I remember it was 5 o'clock in the evening, just before the last light, we went out and we started walking through the snow. And, walking through the snow, wearing the local dress, those days, those duckback shoes used to come, that's rubber shoes. So, and it is to, the snow will enter your boots, so the feet's becoming numb, and wearing the local dress, it was very, very tough to walk through the snow, especially your waist-deep snow. While we were going about 3-4 kilometers from my post, so we were going cross-country. We were not following the alignment of the road. We were going cross-country. My radio operator fell in one of the ditches, and he twisted his ankle very badly. So I had to leave him behind. He couldn't walk. So I had to leave another buddy pair, 2 guys with him. So 8 of us, 3 of us, the 1 guy with him, two more people, I left them behind, and I radioed back. Okay, this is the place this radio operator is with a buddy pair. And the remaining 5 of us pressed on. We kept walking. By about 9:30, we reached closer to Sadao area. And we climbed onto a kind of a ridge line, a spur line, and we started going from dhok to dhok. Now, dhok are basically kind of a accommodation which are made by Gujjars and Bakarwals. They are not clustered together, they are separate. Each dhok is constructed about 20, 30 meters away or 50 meters away from the other dhok. Okay. So when we were on the ridge, we were walking there. Suddenly, from a distance, I found some flakes, the flakes of fire coming out from a particular place. So it looked like somebody must be standing there. Now, those days, we didn't have very good night vision goggles. So we didn't have any of those night sights. So I kept waiting. I said, somebody must be there outside. So we approached slightly closer. And in snow time at night, if you use a binocular, it again works fantastic. So through the binocular, I saw 1 guy standing outside that door with a kangdi, and he was blowing into the kangdi, and that was, emitting the flakes. I said, okay, somebody must be out to relieve himself or something. He will just go inside. So we waited over there. So 2 minutes went by, 5 minutes went by, 10 minutes went by. That guy is not moving. I said, then there is something wrong. Why is this guy? And it was like 9:45 or something in such area. It's snow all over. Why is he standing outside? So this is kind of an indicator. That means he must be a sentry. He must be guarding something. So, okay, this looks like a proper suspect house. So I sent those other 4 guys, like we were just 5 of us, the 4 guys to approach, to take a longish circuitous route, walk around it and to surround that house from 4 direction, clockwise direction, 8 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and 4 o'clock. So that is how the 4 directions they come. So I gave them a lead time of 15 minutes. I said, now I will approach this house. So when these people were set, after 15 minutes, I started walking towards that door. So when I was walking, just to dramatize a bit, I started limping with 1 leg, just to show. And so that guy saw me that one guy in Firan coming and limping in the snow. So it didn't raise any alarm in his head. I kept coming closer, coming closer, coming closer. When I came closer to that guy, so the dhok was slightly aligned to the right of the track which was going into the village. So it was snowfield. So when I was passing by, I just raised my hand and I said, Ware, kya shukaran? Ware, how are you? Are you okay? And he kept looking at me. And I waited and I turned inwards towards the door. He still stood there. He didn't understand why am I coming there. And they never expect Forge to actually move alone, in a single person will not be moving. So he didn't. So he kept waiting. When I was just about 10 feet from the house, he suddenly darted inside there. He suddenly ran inside. And then suddenly I said, oh, there must be something wrong. I immediately picked up my weapon. So what happens is that we used to carry, in this covert, we used to carry the same weapon system as the militant, like the AK-47. So the AK-47 was hanging on my right shoulder and it was hidden inside the firin. So I immediately freed my weapon by picking up the firin. I freed my weapon and I took out my torch. And I still don't know who's there inside. It could be, he could have panicked for something else, but I have to identify that guy first. We cannot fire first. We have to first challenge and all those things are there. So I readied myself and I was closing into the gate. Suddenly I saw one guy in white overall came running out. And suddenly we were face to face. Now I had a physical description of how Bashir Afghani looked. He was a small stature with a roundish face, big beard. And I knew that it was told that he always roams around in a white parka, which is like hooded and everything. But that was not required because I immediately saw that he was carrying his weapon in his right hand and his ammunition pouch on his left hand because he didn't find time to actually wear the pouch. So he came running. So both of us suddenly stared at each other. His weapon down and on the other hand, he was having a pouch. In my left hand, my torch and right hand was already there in the weapon. So I dropped my torch. He also dropped his pouch and I saw him raising the weapon. And I just reacted first. And I fired 2 rounds, 2 single shot. And at that distance, the AK-47 is a very powerful weapon. Both rounds hit him on his neck and he flew backwards. He fell backwards. I immediately jumped on his back, looked for which side is the heart, of the left side, pumped in 2 more rounds on his heart. And I jumped back and there was a couple of wooden logs nearby. I jumped behind them and took position. And I didn't know that how many people are there inside. Correct. So the moment this thing happened, all of these remaining 4 guys, they got alerted. So then they came closer, they immediately closed in and they asked me. Then I said, I am fine. पीछे 2 बंदे छोड़ो, 2 बंदे एकदम सामने आ जाओ and थोड़ा सा घूम के आओ इस लकड़ी के पीछे. So then we collected ourselves. So 2 guys behind guarding the cloak and now we are 3 of us. So then there is a procedure. Then we call out, जैसे कि कौन है घर में, एक-एक करके बाहर निकलो, हाथ ऊपर करके. So those guys came out, we searched them, and I asked the owner. The owner came out, as कौन, हाँ और कौन है? इसे साहब कोई नहीं. जैसे पक्का बोला, हाँ साहब कोई नहीं है, अकेला है. कौन है ये? बोलता साहब बशीर अफगानी. Said wow, we got that guy, and it matched also because Bashir Afghani never trusted another Kashmiri. He used to always roam around alone. And so that also matched. And then through his pouches, we found all his diaries and all in which he had actually taken out hit order, which collaborated with the people who were eliminated. So he used to pass instruction to the other militants. He used to go and kill this guy, go and shoot this guy in his leg. That kind of complete literature we found on him. So that whole operation finished in blink of an eye. And so by about 10:05, Bashir Afghani done. The worst part was yet to come, to carry that body back to the base, because those days we had to hand over the body to the police. And my goodness, again, to wade through the snow. By the time I called that platoon, so they also heard firing, so they all rushed in. After half an hour, they landed up. And then we carried that body all the way back to Shupian. By the time we reached back, it was next day, 6 o'clock in the morning. We were all dead tired. So that was my first operation. And many such operations had happened after that.
What a challenge, what an exciting story it is. Yes. This is a real, action-packed event.
Yeah, and there have been instances like 1-to-1, there are a couple of more times it has happened. Unfortunately, in one, I got saved. I don't know how So there was a house which we had an information. We surrounded the house. There was nothing happening. So me and my radio operator, I said, okay, I will get some people from the neighboring house, which was like a lot of, people were talking. There was a light on. So when I knocked on the door, just the me and because the rest of the guys had surrounded the other house. So it was just the me and the radio operator. The moment the door opened, the whole household people were right, on my face. And the first guy, the guy who was standing there, he showed me on his chest, like three fingers, like fingers, three fingers. I immediately understood there are three militants inside. So I pushed them in. I jumped out, but right behind them was the militant. They fired. My guy, the radio operator, the bullets went past. It hit him. Despite wearing a patka, bullet went through and through patka in his head and he fell. But I managed to, because those days, that time I was carrying my proper weapon, which had as a laser aiming point. So with the laser aiming point switched, I could actually bring down two militants. The third guy, I don't know how he vanished, from which direction. So I saw two. So when I shot these two guys, one of the militant was still alive. One died immediately. The other guy got badly injured. So there was a staircase, like Kashmiri houses are always made about 4 to 5 feet above the ground level.
Absolutely.
And the entrances are always from the middle of the house. And there is a staircase which goes up, concrete stair. So this militant fell on the other side and I quickly came onto this side of the left and right side of the stairs. And I could hear him shouting with pain because it definitely has hit him somewhere back. By the time my guys got heard that firing, so they came running. So I said, hold on, yahan par militant hai. This guy threw a grenade. So the grenade, when you throw a grenade, you can hear the lever going up and the striker striking the fuse. And so this tongue, the noise came. And I shouted at them, these guys, ki, ruk jao, grenade. And I was bending down. When I was bending down, it blasted right behind me. And so I fell on the ground and all. So my boys immediately, they came, they dragged me out of that place. And this guy was still shouting. He was under tremendous pain. He couldn't move. So the sniper went around and took a headshot and finally put him to rest at that time. So my guys actually immediately stripped me naked there and then. So to see if I got any splinter, because the grenade splinters are so minute. When it enters, you will barely find a hole. It is only after some time the blood start coming out. You are very lucky that if you start oozing blood, and it is happening at night time. So they stripped me naked. They searched right from my head down to my feet everywhere. Basically, they were looking. They were sure that I must have got hit. Even I was sure because it blasted right behind me. Luckily, not a single, splinter on me. Then, when everything finished, we could do militant. The radio operator, unfortunately, took the bullets on his head. We removed him. When he came, I went back and tried to see how did I got saved. The grenade blasted right behind me. As luck would have it, there was a channel on the mud floor that was formed because of a water tray where the water was leaking from the house and it was going out. So there was a slight inundation on the ground. So the grenade rolled into it and blasted from there. So the slight inundation, the splinters went like this. And that when I was bending down, probably I just bent down enough that the splinters go above me. Yeah. So that is how I got saved in that time. Unfortunately, I'm very sad that
कभी-कभी मारने वाले से बचाने वाला बड़ा होता है. So
exactly. So
fruits.
Yeah.
These are the moments. Yeah.
Great moments.
So these are some of the, I think, operations where you must awarded this Sena Medal for this events.
One Sena Medal for these two militants.
Okay.
This thing. See, those days now we were actually operating back to back. So finally, for which particular action, because when I got the Sena Medal, actually when the award got announced and I got so I never attended an investiture ceremony. And despite being awarded 3 times for VSM and 2 Sena Medals, I couldn't go. Because 2 Sena Medals were finally when it got announced, I was doing staff college. I was in DSSC Wellington. And I said, I'm not interested. I would rather, be in staff college only. So I can't actually tell you because a whole lot of citations keeps going, So I really can't pinpoint which particular one. We also we raided a militant camp the first time a militant camp which was raided in Pir Panjal was done by us, and I was the lead assault team. We killed 7 militants there.
Mhm.
So I really don't know which award is for what.
So, Brig Ajoy, there are few questions which have come up from the viewers. Shall we take them?
Okay. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. So let's see. First of all, many of them have said Jai Hind to you.
Thank you, Jai Hind, to all of you.
One of them has asked is अच्छा the same lady जिसने पूछा था कि कौन से उसके लिए खेलते थे आप क्लब के लिए, तो she has said that Kalighat that time top team.
One of the top teams, but I actually couldn't finally play for Kalighat. It was there in the first division. I went for the trial. So my mama was playing for Kalighat. So I played other than league in Kalighat teams. And then the league I played for the Town Club and Tollyganj Club.
Yuvraj has asked, आपका favorite weapon combat में कौन सा था?
Oh, favorite weapon, there is no such choice we had. So our own personal weapon was at that time M58 VZ. It was a Czech assault rifle. It was very, very light, much lighter than AK-47. But it had a problem. So it used to have a lot of stoppages. Whereas AK-47 is a very, very robust weapon system. But I would still, given a chance, I will carry a M58 VZ in a proper manner, where the parts are good and it doesn't have, the stoppages. I would prefer a M58 VZ in a full good condition.
Okay. बहुत लोगों ने पूछा है कि कैप्टन हर्षन ऑफ टू पैरास इनके बारे में.
Harshan. Harshan was my youngster and a fantastic youngster, a fantastic human being.
Yeah.
And
he's Ashok Chakra.
Unfortunately, we lost him. And he's an Ashok Chakra awardee. I was there when he got inducted into 2 Para. So after the probation, he came to me also. He stayed with me for quite some time to learn the ropes of CI. So I trained him also partially in that. When he lost his life in a place called Sogam in Kashmir, in Kupwara district, in Lolab area. And I was in Botswana at that time. But later on, when I learned about it, when I came back, he was an amazing personality, an amazing youngster, an amazing human being as such. And in that action, when he actually died, when I heard this story, he guarded one axis and all alone over there. And he was told to move away, but he didn't move away. He stood there, kept fighting. He kept firing. He brought down a couple of militants, but in that, he got hit. And, you never know in which bullet your name is written.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
So, but he was one great, courageous person.
Yeah. There are 3 people who have asked about it.
Okay.
Then somebody has asked about Brigadier Saurabh Singh Shekhawat. Any interaction?
Saurabh Singh Shekhawat is at present day the highest Gallantry Award winner in the Army. He's my junior. He is from 21 Para SF. He is presently the Deputy Commandant. Rather, just about a month back only, I was with him. In month of March only, in Hawes, I was meeting. Again, a very, very brave Army officer. I hope you have interviewed him. He got fantastic stories too. He's an Everester also, not only in our operations, he is an Everester also.
But he's serving.
He served. He's presently serving, so you can't interview him.
Yeah, you can't.
So he is presently the Deputy Commandant of High Altitude Warfare School in Gulmarg, which is there. Again,
I think you have gone for a motivation lecture there. Yeah,
he keeps doing that. And great to hear from him, his life experiences.
Yeah. Somebody has asked how 50th Independent Para Brigade is different from Para SF.
That Para Brigade is a airborne brigade. The brigade has got 3 airborne battalions. SF unit, Para SF unit is just a battalion. It's a homogeneous battalion which goes to places, different places, and they fight as a homogeneous battalion. 3 battalions makes a brigade. So there are three para battalions put together under one command. That is the brigade. So there is in our country, there is only one airborne brigade. That is the para brigade. That is called 50-50 para brigade. Okay. So these are the ones which are the main task is when it's dropped behind the enemy lines, they will be dropped behind and they will operate independently in deep inside the enemy territory. That is their classical role. And then once you go, they drop behind, and then the armored corps from our side, the main conventional forces goes and links up with them. So the para brigade is a much larger force. It has got 3 battalions instead of 1 para battalion. So you've got 3 para battalions with its affiliated artillery. It has got its own artillery regiment also, and lot of administrative units. Like for communication, they have a signal company, air defense company, air defense battery. Logistics is taken care of. Everything is a homogeneous organization. So para brigade is a, you can say, one big organization under which there are 3 para battalions and 1 artillery artillery regiment along with its support mechanism are organized.
Okay. There is someone who has asked about interaction with Colonel Arvind Sharma of 2 Para SF. Any
Sorry, what with?
Colonel Arvind Sharma of 2 Para SF. Arvind Sharma.
Yeah, yeah. What was the question? I didn't get it.
Please, any interaction of yours? Anything you want?
Oh yeah, he is like my he's like, so we call it, he is like my elder brother from the unit. I mean, he is a friend, philosopher, guide all throughout in my life. So we operated together. He was Charlie team commander when I was Alpha team commander. We operated in Kupwara. He is an amazing person. Is a person full of life, and he has got anybody who meets Arvind Sharma, they immediately tend to like him. I mean, you cannot have a situation you don't like Arvind Sharma. You will not meet anybody. He is so full of life. An amazing gentleman. He is retired long time back, but he is serving with the government of India, which we can't discuss.
Okay. Okay. One more person has asked, is Colonel Hemantho Penging?
Hemantho Penging, yeah. No, he is 1 course senior to me, but we were in an IMA together. He is a good friend of mine. Okay. And he was in 9 para, and he's 1 course senior to me, 6 months, you can say, 1 course senior to me. He was in 9 para, but then later he converted, he joined infantry. He came out of para. And yeah.
He's still serving?
No, retired.
Okay. There is one gentleman who has asked, sir, I want to ask, while moving in a squad of 8 to 6, or how many guys do carry sniper, or how many carry RL?
It totally depends on what kind of operation that you're going to do. So sniper, basically when you're going in a troop, based on what task. So in SF, we have a weapon pool. So we pick up weapon based on what task we are going for. RL is picked up for a task, which is if the target is behind, if you have to do a bunker busting, where we know that we have to take out a dhok, or we have to engage a militant at a far distance in open ground in HE airburst mode. So then we carry RL. Sniper, generally, if we are going with a troop plus, generally we always carry a sniper. One sniper always goes. So my way of operating was I always used to have a sniper right next to me, not a radio operator. Because sniper, because of his telescopic sight, he can see through the jungle when you are lying down below the foliage level in the stem part. The sniper can see quite a distance, which you cannot see in naked eye. So sniper also works as a kind of a surveillance guy. So you can actually see much far. And sniper as a det independently can operate as a surveillance det also. So if you want to carry out surveillance on a village from a distance, then the snipers do it. The snipers have a very unique characteristics. They can survive alone. They are loners. They can actually stay in a particular place for a very, very long time without twitching a single muscle. And so it requires a very, very high level of dedication and discipline to become a sniper. Yeah. So snipers are, good sniper is a great, great asset to any kind of fighting organization.
उन्होंने ये भी पूछा है आगे, how many carry the pika? assault rifle, PICA.
Okay, again, it's a big, PICA is basically a kind of a MMG. It's a MMG equivalent medium. It's a machine gun. So we call it crew served weapon, but PICA being lighter than our Indian MMG, PICA is a Russian weapon, Soviet era weapon. The round is pretty long. It's got a very long effective range, 1800 meters. So PICA is carried when we are known more number of people are going and we are expecting a major firefight from a long distance. So then we carry PICA.
And finally, one more gentleman has asked how to carry yourself whenever you feel super low and move forward. When you're feeling very low in life, how to carry forward?
Oh, okay. Remember the good times. Remember your good times. Remember, I love to listen to music. So when I feel, down something, either I used to earlier, right now I have a spur surgery. I used to go for a run or go to gym, listen to music and remember the good times. Some good incidents. These low moments, everybody faces it, but you need to find within yourself how you can quickly turn your mood from a sadness to happiness. Okay. And you have to master the art of picking up happiness from small things around you. Start appreciating something which you like. Some good music that you put on your headphone, listen to a good music, go for a walk, do physicals, go to a gym, sweat it out. Once you sweat it out, you will feel much better, much better.
Very rightly said, Jay. And ye jo aapne bola na, go for run. Yes. My way of getting over this thing is go for the run. And once you come for 5 kilometer run, your all setbacks goes off.
Yeah, you have to do something at that time. Take your mind off. Do something which you like. Yeah. Do anything. Do something which you like, which actually makes you happy. Do that.
Ajay, twice in your career you have gone to the UN mission. One is Botswana, another is Sierra Leone.
Botswana I was an advisor to Botswana Defence Force. So that was a 3-year tenure. So that was different. That was peace. Sierra Leone was a hostage rescue mission. It was op immediate. We were moved overnight from India to Sierra Leone to rescue our Indian soldiers who were taken hostage by the rebels. So that's completely different.
Okay. So, what you are saying is that when this our Indian troops were taken hostage, that is the time the 2 para SF was moved over.
Okay. Yes. So it was late in the evening. The CO received a call from the military operations director from Delhi that prepare a team. So we all SF units maintain an alert team. One team is always in the state of readiness. But for us, that time we were about to move to Valley. We were in Agra. We were about to move to Valley. And most of the people were on leave. So in the evening, we got a call that there is a situation. So the funny part was that initially they couldn't speak in open. So what CO received, the instruction was the place, it's an outside the country. However, where we are going, the name of that area, the initials are S and L, SL. It has got a lot of jungle, a lot of mosquitoes and a sea nearby. It's in year 2000. And we all thought we are going to Sri Lanka.
Okay.
Because that time in 2000, the Sri Lankan, the thing was very much active. The LTT versus the Sri Lankan army. And we were actually tracking at that time. The Sri Lankan army had actually crossed Elephant Pass and going towards Jaffna, and Elephant Pass got cut off by the LTT. Something had happened. And we thought that, okay, this must be another, of Pavan in making. So we immediately at night time, we were preparing ourselves for a heavy, big firefight. So we immediately were actually preparing for a major firefight. So we had no idea. We had never heard the country called Sierra Leone at that time.
I know. Yeah. So since you have been there, you must have been the part of Operation Mukherjee.
Yeah, I was the second in command of the team.
So will you share something about that? How?
Yeah. So what had happened was Sierra Leone, I'm sure people would have seen Blood Diamond, from that movie Blood Diamond. It was that. So the rebel group, RUF, Revolutionary United Front, they were fighting the government forces. So the government forces were negligible. There was nothing. I mean, within them also, there was a lot of infighting. And UN was already there. So UN were trying to resolve the issue. So 70% of the country was under the control of RUF. RUF was ably supported by Liberia, which was the neighboring country. So RUF was selling its diamond. They were extracting the diamond to Liberia, and from Liberia, they were getting the weapons. And that is how the whole civil war was going on. So one of our battalion 58GR was deployed in a place called Daru in the northeastern province of Sierra Leone. They had a company which is up northeastern part of Sierra Leone called a place called Calahon. So there were the two company location, one 58GR company and one 11 MEC, the company of 11 MEC was located there with 8 military observers. So Indians in Indian forces in UN always have a very good reputation because we maintain a great relationship with all warring parties and we generally try to bring in peace. And so people like the Indian forces. And so 58GR also had a great relationship with the RUF for their disarm. But in between, something happened with RUF, with the government forces or the UN guys. They actually ransacked one of the Kenyan battalion just a day before. And they, took over the whole post and they sent the Kenyans, they stripped them off and all their weapon system and all, and then they send them packing. This is they go back walking. So Calahon was a place which was surrounded by the RUF. The RUF was everywhere. The main role of the UN was to disarm them and to bring them onto the negotiation table. So that is why the Calahon was so deep, way deep inside the RUF territory. So when this thing was happening, what RUF did was RUF surrounded that Calahon garrison and it says, okay, you will not go out from here. You want to go out, leave all your weapon system and then you go out, otherwise we will all kill you. So suddenly when the situation deteriorated, the second in command of 58GR, along with their young officer and 21 other rank, they thought they will go and negotiate with the RUF commanders and break the impasse. I mean, why are you doing this? Because they were like talking every other. So when they started from the place called Daru and they were going up, now from Daru to Calahon, it is like 100 plus kilometers. So while going, there was a place called Cuiva. Suddenly they were stopped at Cuiva and they were immediately taken hostage in Cuiva. So the one situation is two company was besieged at Calahon and these 23 guys were taken hostage at a place initially called Cuiva. So this when happened and they said that, okay, we will kill you and all those things. That is when the Indian Army, the government of India decided that they have to be rescued. We need to send a SF team immediately. So 2 para SF was, we were like preparing to go to Valley. So then we received an order that, okay, prepare one team. So that's how our preparation happened. Overnight, we prepared ourselves. Next day morning, we reached Delhi. That was my first foreign trip without passport visa. Because overnight, our passports couldn't be made because we have to, it's a UN mission. It is supposed to be a white passport and all. So in record time, our medicals were done. Everything was done. And we reached Delhi. And within 2 nights, we were there at the tarmac. We were waiting for the aircraft. Just to hide our movement, we were packed in with a regular turnover unit. So 18 grenadiers was going to UN mission. So we were made part of 18 grenadiers. And we were the most ragtag kind of a UN soldiers you will find. Generally, people, when you go for UN, they are all dressed up properly because they are representing the country.
Yes.
And here we were just 2 dangris worth with 1 rucksack and our weapon system. We were absolutely in a ragtag condition with it. So we would actually stand apart from the rest of the crowd just because we didn't have anything. So at night when we are about to board the aircraft, that's the time these clerks came and the ministry from MEA people came. And MEA people came and say that, okay, there is no passport. They handed us, all of us, one small letter, which just said that these guys are going for this, this mission, and there's no passport or visa could be issued. So we were told to keep that letter very, very safely. That's about it. So and then we flew to Sierra Leone, month of May 2000.
So how that if you remember some
Okay, yeah.
how
So
the
when we
operation
reached there, yeah, the moment we reached there, we moved to a place called Hastings. And me and Harinder Sood, the team commander, we were called to the UN headquarters. When we went to the UN headquarters, they briefed us about the security situation. Yeah, this is what has happened. And so we immediately got down into planning. So obviously, priority one was these 23 guys. So we started planning, we started gathering data. Now, we didn't have any maps of the target area.
I know.
Yeah. And the worst part was when we were flying from India to Sierra Leone, because it was a chartered aircraft, they refused to carry our heavy weapon system because of the UN hazard. There is an issue that explosives and all, so grenades, rocket launchers and all cannot be carried in a normal chartered flight because there was no time to actually get that UN hazard clearance. So all these heavy weapon systems were supposed to come by sea later. So when we reached there, we were just having our personal weapons, our pistols, our personal weapons, and that's our night sights and all those things. So when they briefed us, we immediately got down into planning. And so we were interacting with 58GR. We used to fly to Daru and, discuss. So in that we found, so we got a great opening that the 58GRs were all Gurkha guys. Our youngster, then Lieutenant Dheeraj Thapa, was also a Gurkha from Darjeeling. So I briefed him. I said, Dheeraj, it's a great opportunity. And so we will be prepared. We will be sending you. So while this thing was going on, we also befriended the British SAS guys, the British Special Forces. SAS Bravo Squadron was operating there. So somehow we got the SFSF, we got interacting and we became good friends. So SAS started giving us a whole lot of these tactical maps, which we didn't have, including satellite imagery. Now, satellite imagery, they couldn't give us officially. This is, at higher level, the British had a different, because since it was a British colony earlier, so British were parallelly running some training team and some they had their different agenda. They were not part of the UN. Okay, so hence there was officially we were not cleared to actually interact with the SAS. But the SAS are the guys who were actually helping us with all the intelligence, all the maps, satellite images. So they used to give us an outline sketches of various things of the target area. So when we decided that this was a good opportunity, so to insert one of us to gather the ground intelligence. So there was a convoy which was supposed to carry ration for the Callaghan town. So in that, so there was a RUF officer, so-called officer, who was supposed to lead the convoy. So we then briefed Dheeraj, kaise Dheeraj, we are sending you as a driver to jana inke saath, and you gather intelligence and come back. So the SAS guys gave us a miniaturized camera, dictaphone, and a satellite phone was also carried to be given to Callaghan. Callaghan company was without communication. So that satellite phone was actually welded into a small, gap into the vehicle. And Dheeraj became the driver of that RUF commander. So Dheeraj, while going, sitting with him while driving his vehicle towards Callaghan, kept narrating whatever he's saying in Gurkhali. And he did that by singing a song in the tone of song. So the RUF guide said, what are you doing? He says, when I drive, I get nervous. The only way to stay awake and not to feel nervous is if I sing. So he was not singing a song. He was narrating what he's seeing in a rhythm of a song so that he doesn't, and he was talking in Gurkhali. So in the dictaphone, he was doing that. So then he went to first Kuiva, and in Kuiva, the moment, and that second lieutenant, that officer who was there with the 2IC was Dheeraj's batchmate, coursemate. So Dheeraj also had a problem that he should not recognize and straight away come and greet Dheeraj. So Dheeraj initially stayed away and showed him a hand that he don't come to me. And when he got an opportunity, he went and told everybody, including the 2IC, sir, we are from 2 Para SF, we are here, we are planning to rescue you. So then they got a little bit of, dilasa that, okay, fine, thank God that somebody is there, somebody will coming to rescue us. So we briefed them. And through Dheeraj, we had already briefed them, okay, what will happen if you hear helicopters, be prepared, and that kind of stuff. Then from there, Dheeraj went up to Calahon, met everybody, gave them the sat phone, collected all the detailed information, and then he came back. So when he came back, then we pulled Dheeraj out of that area. And so based on Dheeraj's input and the satellite imageries from the what we got from the SAS guys, we initially carried out a detailed daytime raid to rescue these 23 guys. Now, these 23 guys were later moved from Kuiva to Pendapur. So Dheeraj had to go second time to Pendapur to gather further intelligence. Then he found out where these guys are, what are the security arrangements of RUF is there, based on which we had actually carried a very daring daytime heliborne assault in Kuiva to rescue these 23 guys. But somehow to get a sanction from the UN of such mission, it has its own issues. Twice we actually went in the daytime to the airfield to be launched immediately, and it got cancelled at the last moment. But luckily for everybody, these 23 guys got released by negotiation, and the Liberia also played its part, and they got released through Liberia. These 23 guys were then moved to Liberia, and then from there they came out. But their weapon system and uniform and everything was kept back by RUF. When this part finished, the RUF got further emboldened in the Calahon area. They say, we will not leave you. Either you move or we will shoot you. You be prepared, we will start killing you from now. And situation became very bad. They stopped administrative convoy. Earlier, when people used to fall sick, helicopter would come and actually take them out. They refused helicopters to come in over there. They said, if we see helicopters, we will start killing you. No helicopters, no support, nothing. So the situation was going bad. So then that cookery was designed, in which 2 para will go into Calahon, clear an area, take these guys out, get them between 2 parts of ours and keep moving downwards, fighting our way downwards. And from Daru, the 58GR with a very heavy mechanized column will come fighting upwards. So they will be moving upwards. We will get inserted. We will take these hostages, these guys out, and we will come down and we will link up in Pendambu. So this was the plan. And we were supposed to be helped by our attack helicopters were already there. But our insertion has to be at night, and our own helicopters cannot fly at night because those days we were still having Mi-8 choppers. But the British had their Chinooks. Their special aviation squadron was there. Since there was one British military observer who was also stuck in Calahon, the Britishers knew that that the only way to get him out was to help the Indians. Yeah. So then they perforce agreed to loan us 2 Chinooks to insert us. The SAS guys were always there to help us. So we had a kind of a lower level, great interaction. So we were regularly being briefed. So then we trained to operate with this Chinook helicopters, because Chinook has a completely different system. In India, our Mi-8, Mi-17 earlier, when used to do the slithering or fast roping, we used to use the climbing ropes, entwine them, 3 ropes, and with our mittens, as a friction, we slither down with that. But the Britishers uses a very thick nylon rope, nearly 30 mm thick. And so the whole technique has to change. In our technique, we never use our legs to hold the rope to come down. In their system, the legs has to be used. Otherwise, you will fall. So the Britishers initially said, okay, let's practice once. So just a couple of days before, we went flew to Hastings. In our very first practice, I was the first one to slither. As an officer, we are supposed to be always the first one to do this thing. The moment I got out, I said, I'm slipping very fast. Our mittens couldn't grab the rope, properly. And I put my feet immediately and I fell. Right behind me, there are 2 guys. One guy was carrying an MMG and RL. Both of them slipped and fell. One broke his knee. The other got badly injured in his back. So then immediately the helicopters were brought down. Again, the whole briefing started, relearning the slithering process, and everything happened. And then finally, we were prepared. So we selected 80 of us. So they loaned us 2 Chinooks. So we divided ourselves into 40 each. We further divided ourselves into 3 groups.
Group Alpha, Group Bravo, Group Charlie. I was the commander for Group Alpha. So I had TM Reddy, Captain TM Reddy with me. Group Bravo was the team commander Harinder Sood and Sanjay Singh. And then Group Charlie was with me, Dheeraj and 6 guys, because Dheeraj who had gone and done the Reiki earlier. So we were supposed to fly in at night time in the hours of darkness. Before us, there was one C-130 Hercules was supposed to fly and to jam all the communications in that area. So we moved to a place called Kinema, which was the air base. The night before, evening before, we were picked up and we moved there. And that night, the weather turned bad. It was raining, it was low cloud. So we thought that, typical Indian scenario that our helicopters will not be able to not only fly and it is a bad weather. So probably again, the operation is a no-go. But we prepared ourselves. So the whole night, obviously, because of the adrenaline pumping and preparation, the whole night we didn't sleep. So about 3 o'clock, we all reached the airfield. I said, let's go. Let's not waste time in the base. Let's go to the airfield proper. So we went there 3 o'clock. So the SAS guys were there. So I asked them whether the operation is a go or no go because it is raining. And it's a low cloud. We could barely see anything. They said, yeah, from our side, operation is a go. I said, wow, it's great. So at 5 o'clock in Sierra Leone, because it's a western part of Africa, small country in the western side, the first flight is much later. It was 6:37. So the Hercules took off at 5 o'clock. So that means the operation is good. We 40 sat in our respective helicopters, Chinooks. It was pitch dark and only the salient sticks were stuck in various places and the rope and all. And then the helicopters took off at just before about 5:30 or something. And they fly in nap of the earth. The nap of the earth is just above the tree level. So we were like sitting behind on the ramp. You could actually, the ramp was actually brushing on the leaves of the trees. Then after some time, both the choppers came down onto the river. So there was a Mon river which was flowing from top to, so from north to south. And it started flying on top of the riverbed. It was amazing. Sitting behind, we could see the silhouette of the second, in the darkness, the second silhouette, silhouette of the second chopper which was following us. The water was splashing from the river. It's like a pure Hollywood movie. You get goosebumps when I actually recollect that. So when we were flying and suddenly at a particular point, the dispatcher came to me and he showed me right on my face 5 minutes. And he shouted on me 5 minutes. So then the two SAS guys with their night vision and all, they came and stood at the rear ramp on both sides looking down. So the helicopter then came onto a hover, then it reversed on top of the tree level and it started going slightly down. And suddenly the dispatcher, I was on one side, the dispatcher on the other side, the dispatcher threw, so there were 2 ropes on the parallel ropes. So he threw the rope on his side and I threw the rope from my side. I told TM Reddy, who was my second, the officer with me, I said, TM, wait kar lena. We never know who compromises information where. Let me go down first. If there is nobody, then only come down. Okay. If we get compromised, at least one guy getting compromised better than all of you. Okay. But the moment I got down, I saw Reddy also coming down from the other side. He said, do you think, sir, I'm going to wait and let you go alone? So he also came down and within no time, the whole 36 of us actually landed because Dheeraj with 6 guys was with us. So we slithered down over there. So we were supposed to block off a reinforcement route. So there is a thing called Pendujuma Junction. So there was an RUF base close to that. And we were anticipating, well, these guys were coming down from Calahon. From Bendujuma, the people will come and try to ambush us. So that was very critical that we hold the junction properly and clear an area of at least 2 kilometers from that area so that all these 200 guys that we are taking out, we can actually hold them there, clear that area. So after this, we slithered down. Then the second chopper, the Bravo group with Harinder Sood and Sanjay, they found an open clearing close to Pendimbu and they landed there. So they landed and the people just came up. And thereafter, with Dheeraj and the second chopper, straight away went and landed inside the Calahon. Now, the Calahon company was already told because they had this headphone that we are coming, be prepared. So at night, what they had done is they were well prepared to actually, if there is something happens, they should be able to stop. But by the time the Bravo group had already cleared that access and we had secured that track junction and cleared an area 1 kilometer down also. So that from Calahon right up to 3 kilometers southwards were already secured by us. So Dheeraj landed with both the Chinooks. They immediately picked up all the people who couldn't walk, especially the military advisors from various companies. All the sensitive computers, documents, and everything that couldn't be carried. So they had earlier burned the rest of them, and whatever the sensitive documents and machines were there, that was loaded in these two Chinooks. And all those people who couldn't walk, they were all loaded, and the two Chinooks took off. Dheeraj by that time led these guys were already prepared. When this happened, the RUF suddenly heard the Chinook and they started reacting. But it was very early morning for them. A typical African thing, so they wake up a little bit and whole night they're drinking drugs because RUF was using a lot of drugs. So they were also sluggish. But the moment they got together, these guys were all prepared. They brought in a heavy volume of fire on them. So the RUF didn't know what hit them. By the time Dheeraj created a breach and straight away Dheeraj brought them out and linked up with the Bravo group. So from Bravo group, they were brought to my side, that is the Alpha group. At Alpha group, by that time, I had already prepared a lot of these IEDs and the Claymore mines on the ground. And we had already prepared them because we knew that the RUF is going to follow. So moment I saw Dheeraj initially called, sir, I'm this much distance from your place. Then I met Dheeraj, I greeted him, a lot of laughter, great job done. Move karo karke. So we let the whole column pass through us and we became the rear guard. And by the time, in between what had happened, when this action was going on, so there was a party from Bindi Juma tried to come towards the track junction. They must have got information. But by the time we had deployed our MNGs and everything, we fired a couple of bursts, they ran away. So there was not much of an incident happened at that time. So immediately this whole column was taken out and we started running southwards. So Reddy was ahead. So me and other guys, we were actually just prepared that Dheeraj was with me. So we prepared the charges. And the moment we were coming down, moving southwards, suddenly I heard one of the claymores and IEDs going off. So that means these people have started coming. And immediately after some time, we started hearing the massive fire that was coming towards our direction. So when a bullet passes close to you, it makes a noise called patak, 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 that kind of sound. It's like a pataka going on. So you know that you are under fire. The bullets are whizzing past. And it was hitting the trees. And he saw that the RUF had actually caught up behind. They were in Hilux and all. And we were all walking. Nearly 180 plus people that we were actually bringing back. So they caught up with us. And then the firefight ensued. So, but we had actually modified our weapon system, our MMGs, to be fired in hip row. So we had all done those modifications, innovative modifications in Sierra Leone. So when that firefight happened, and we had also prepared our rocket launchers, all the HE rounds into nose fuse for airburst mode. So in airburst, what happens is that at a calculated distance, when you fire the rocket explodes in the air and it throws down the shrapnel downwind. So since it was a singular jungle track with thick jungles on both sides, so we both were stuck within that. And we had this potent weapon called Carl Gustav, 84mm Carl Gustav rocket launcher. And there were two of them with me and plus the 2-inch mortar. So we fired initially 2 HE airbursts, which blasted right on top of. And it was a sight to see. There were Hilux weapons, the vehicles where the guys were actually standing and coming. They fell like, if you cut a tree, when the leaves fall, these guys fell like that from the 2 RL rounds. The moment it burst on top of them, that stopped them on their track. Then, 2-inch mortar, we started firing 2-inch mortar and we kept running. So we had one BRDM also with us. That also kept firing. When the RL hit them, they didn't know what hit them, actually. It hit them very badly. By the time it was already 9-ish, 9:30. So I had all the radio communication with ground to air and my parties also. I was carrying 3 radio sets with me. Suddenly the ground to air radio crackled and says, Mukho, where are you? Attack helicopters are coming. So there was a command helicopter, the smaller Cheetah helicopter, which was flying much higher. It was providing a command base on top. And below that, our attack helicopters were supposed to come. So first attack helicopter was flown by then squadron leader Saxena. So we used to call him Sexy Sir. So, and we had decided we will only talk in Hindi, not in English. So the second radio set crackled. He says, Mukho, main aa raha hu. Kahan hai? तो ऐसे सर अभी तक कहाँ थे? Because we were fighting, we were still fighting at that time. So from the SAS, we had taken a lot of colored smokes. So I immediately pulled out a color smoke, and it was an orange smoke. So I threw that, and so I told Saxena sir, reference orange smoke. Anything north is RUF. We are south of the orange smoke. Well, okay, abare. So there were two attack captors. They straight away came on top. They crossed us. We could see them crossing, and then they let loose their ammo, their rockets, and everything. Then it did that 2 rounds. They were also instructed to destroy that camp, the Calavan camp, so that whatever documents, ammunition that they couldn't carry, those has to be destroyed. So they fired over there, and then they came back after that. So then he called me, Mukho, tere piche abhi 4 kilometer pura clear hai. I said, very good. So that was clear. Okay. So then me, Reddy, and us, we said, okay, now let's move forward at the head of the column. So we immediately came at the head of the column. And then we kept fighting, because what is happening in between, the RUF would have put a lot of ammunition. So now the cheetah will tell me right on top, okay, reference your point, your head. 2 kilometers right side, there is a village, or there is a bridge, or there is a culvert which is coming in. So we would stop short of that. We clear that area. We will send our squads, clear that area, secure that area, call the attack captors. The attack captors will come down. They will strafe that villages. And then again we will. So we were kept moving like this. In between, there is a place called Gehu, another big village. So Grenadiers was heli lifted over there, and they also secured that area. That is the time the force commander came down at Gehu, met us. He said, "I'm good. The operation is going very well. Not a single casualty to us." And the RUF actually by that time had suffered a lot of casualty. So then again, we pressed on, kept walking, kept fighting. In between, the RUF had what they had done is they have dug the roads. They cut the roads at various places. So we were bringing a lot of stuff also with us. So then again, we would radio back, okay, this is the place, we need some crossing expedients. Then by the time the weather had opened, so the Me-8s will come with these channels, they will drop the channels, we will put the channels, and then again we cross. So we kept doing that. By about evening 5 o'clock, when we wwe nearing Pendembu, on the radio, I could hear the CO 58GR, okay, we will now move up, because we were still quite distant from Pendembu. So self and my officers, we actually went up, we secured an area and waited. And then suddenly we saw that white mechanized column was coming up. I stood in the road, put up my hand and waved the radio. So then we linked up with the Pendembu column, the Daru column, Jia, and then we moved into Pendembu. So Pendembu was a major RUF base. That the Daru company, the 58GR and the MEC with the RT and the quick reaction company, 9 para, 1 troop was also there. They were part of the quick reaction company. They had virtually attacked Pendembu, and then they secured Pendembu. So we linked up in Pendembu the whole night, because by the time it was late evening. So we decided to take a halt in Pendembu. The whole night the firing was going on. The whole night the BRDMs were firing, the BMPs were firing, the artillery was firing. And there were bodies strewn all over. Half the village, the huts are on fire. It was a massacre scene at that time. So then next day morning, the RUF didn't attack anymore, because they realized that we were very much active at that time. Next day, the big Me-26 chopper were brought in. And all the guys who were there in Calavan, they were immediately removed from that by helicopter. So they were taken out. And then after that, as a priority, so that we get ready for any other eventuality, the SF team, all 80 of us, were immediately lifted back to Freetown, the capital, to be prepared for. In between, what had happened was that when the initial contact took place, one RPG hit a tree right next to the 2-inch mortar guys. So two of those guys got splinter injury, one in the thigh, one in the hand. So they were also evacuated with us, and they were sent to hospital, but nothing major. So our job finished when we actually handed over the whole detainees at the link up happened at Pendembu to their respective battalion. So the SF job finished. The only casualty in this whole operation that happened was from Pendembu when they were going back to Daru. That column was fired upon, and one RPG hit a vehicle in which one guy, the driver, died because of the RPG hit his side. So the whole operation, we rescued about 200 plus people with only 2 minor splinter injury and 1 unfortunate death. So it was a highly successful operation at that time.
Wow, what an operation! What an operation! Definitely, what an approach. There are two things which I would like to know that this company of GR, which was captivated by this RUF, so they were not disarmed. This
No, they were being threatened to be disarmed.
Okay.
So they were saying that either you disarm or we will attack you. We will kill you.
Okay.
So the GR was also saying, fine, you will kill us, but we will also kill you. So it was kind of a standoff.
Okay.
But the worst part was that they cut off the complete supply system.
Oh.
They were running out of food. They were running out of the medical supplies. And there were a couple of guys who were not well. They were not let them get evacuated. They stopped the helicopter overflight. They said, if we see a helicopter, we will kill you guys.
Okay.
So that situation was going bad to worse.
Another thing that when you sent Thapa first time, and you said that he went into the as a driver of RUF vehicle.
Yeah.
So how it is, means RUF vehicle was coming to take a supply?
No. The vehicles were ours.
Okay.
Because we were supposed to resupply, na?
Yeah.
So there was
So
one gypsy.
So supply they were permitting to reach there.
Yes, initially they were permitting. Before this chaos happened, initially they were, before those guys got released, those 23 guys, initially the supply was going on.
Okay.
With great negotiation and all, the supply will say, no, unko to khana pad. So it is like negotiation. You give something to them. You also know your vehicle will be looted. So you cater for that. Okay, you keep this much, but at least this much ration, let it reach over there. So initially, Dheeraj had to drive a Titan so that he get more independence. But Dheeraj couldn't drive that such heavy vehicle because, the as an officer, we don't drive those heavy vehicles, and especially that muddy area, which is very, very slippery. There was no proper road. It was a jungle track. So perforce, Dheeraj had to drive that gypsy. And obviously, that RUF commander will be traveling in gypsy. So he had no choice to become his driver. And his kind of buddy, so he will go bring him cigarettes, whatever he will do some odd jobs. So that also gave him a flexibility of going around. Otherwise, if he had been the rest of the soldiers, he would have good. Sorry?
That means the RUF commander, whatever supply used to go, they used to escort the vehicle till the...
Correct. He was escorting the vehicle so that, because in between there are a lot of checkpoints. No?
Okay.
Without an RUF commander, they will not let him go. So that is why that RUF officer was there with him.
Yeah. I had the same doubt ki how come RUF vehicle was taking the
it was the UN vehicle, our own vehicle, because we were taking the supply.
Fantastic. This is a great story, Brigadier Ajay. Now the question comes one thing that, इन सब चीजों में एक जिस तरीके से थापा ने किया या आपने जो इनिशिएटिव लिया, it is not only the motivation which makes you do all these exceptional things. It is something behind that, so motivation is just a momentary, but you tell what is that basic skill of an officer or a special forces soldier which takes him or makes him do such exceptional things.
See, it is not only for the SF, or it's applicable to every aspect of life. Motivation will show you the door.
Yeah.
Motivation shows you the door. But to go through the door, thereafter keep going in that direction is all about discipline.
Yeah.
In the morning, I doubt anybody will say that I like getting up in the morning, every early morning at 4 o'clock at morning and go for run and all. Only very few people who are actually very hardcore ones they love. But rest of the people it's an everyday battle. Okay. But it is the discipline that makes you wake up in the morning. It is the discipline that makes you wear your sneakers and your PT dress and go for that run and do the discipline every day after day after day. Motivation is before the New Year Eve, you take a resolution. I will do gym. And by the first, second, third day, when the muscle starts paining, the motivation finishes there and then, and you stop. To push you beyond that is the discipline that matters the most. More than motivation, you need discipline in your life to succeed. That's the bottom line.
I agree. There is no denying that fact. And that discipline makes you to be consistent what you want to achieve.
Exactly. Consistency. Discipline is basically brings you the consistency. Consistently do what needs to be done.
Absolutely.
to select the harder right than softer wrong,
Yeah. Ajay, you also commanded this Commando battalion of Rashtriya Rifle.
Yes, sir. I was very fortunate.
Yeah, means I must say fortunate, at the same time must be very challenging as well for you.
Yeah, it was an amazing command. It's a 31 RR commando was modeled. It was General BC Joshi, then chief. It was his idea of mixing the special forces with the sons of the soil. The concept was taken from Sealer Scout in Rhodesia, erstwhile Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe. So Zimbabwe, they had a concept called Sealer Scout, a very, very successful battalion in which the officers and the few were from the special forces, the white guys, and they had the black soldiers with them, which are the sons of the soil. And they were the most successful battalion there. Because those days, the apartheid and also white and black were never mixing. But this battalion was a mixed battalion. And that is why it was highly successful. So General Joshi had this brainchild. Why can't I create one like that? So 31 RR was his brainchild, wherein it had elements of SF, 70% for Para and SF, and 30% are Jacklai and Jackrif and Dogras, which are the sons of the soil.
Oh.
So it is the smallest fighting unit of the Indian Army. It has just got 3 teams. SF has got 4 teams. Our 31 RR has got just 3 teams. And 31 RR has a mandate of operating anywhere in 15 corps, 16 corps, 14 corps, wherever. So because of this typical mix of the SF capability and the sons of the soil, Jacklai, Jackrif, the sons of the soil, it became a very, very potent battalion. And we were highly successful in carrying out a lot of great operations. And it was really amazing to command a battalion like that. Like as a CO, I had complete freedom to wherever I want to go, be it in the complete valley or Rajouri sector, that is 15 and 16 corps. And we were commanded directly, but we used to come directly under the command headquarters, like all SF, with the same command and control to the highest level. And we had the priority, lien on any equipment, any new equipment which the command used to get. We used to also get a share of that, like 9 Para SF and 4 Para SF. So because of a smaller team, much leaner, much smaller, because of the Jacklai Jackrif element, which is to provide us the ground intelligence and the knowledge of the terrain, mixing with the SF, it was amazing. A great operating with them.
Definitely. And great insight, which you have told that 70% SF and then 30% is sons of soils. And of course, that makes a sense. Ajay, see, you have gone through the para probation. You must have gone through the para jumping also. Thereafter, you become senior in your own unit. Then you must have been the probationer officer.
Yes.
At the same time, you became a commandant of this airborne training school. So, जब आप student होते हो, so you go through many things and then you realize, यार मेरे को मौका लगा तो I will change this, or I will make this way. Because everybody, by the time you start commanding or you become a senior, you have your own thought process.
Yes.
So as a probationer officer or as a commandant of this training school, what you thought or what you brought in something different? Can you think of something?
So not as a commandant Army Airborne Training School, there are a lot of things. I was there for a very limited period. After my command, 6-7 months was there. One thing which I did probably different than the others is that when there is an inspection happens, when a senior officer comes, I have always seen that people only show the best part of that establishment. And they try to put a sheet on top of all the things which cannot be managed. I thought it should be done otherwise. Because when a senior officer is visiting, he is the one who has the assets or the resources which you can ask for only by showing what is going wrong. So when my Army commander visited or my colonel of the regiment visited, I said, sir, everybody would have shown you the good part of AATS. Let me show you the bad part of AATS, in which I need your help. Let me show you the underbelly of this. So they were shocked. It was like, inspection. I was like, that's my way. And you must know what ails us? What is my pain point? What is this institute's pain point? Then only the institution can actually improve rather than, showing that everything is hunky-dory. I said, no institution is everything hunky-dory. So that was taken in a good spirit, I would say, by the seniors. And they liked it. And I could present the case. Okay, I need this to develop this particular area. This is what is actually holding us back. And that's the first time they realized, so say, my goodness, I didn't even know this. So this whole approach was quite different than what used to be happening in the army. As a cadet, the gentleman cadet in IMA, later on as an instructor, the world is completely different. As a cadet, you're barely fighting to pass that academy and become an officer. Okay, so they can't be a comparison. But as an instructor in IMA and later as a senior instructor, I was a senior instructor in staff college also. What I would say different that I did was that all military courses are like crash courses. Okay, all army courses, wherein all instructors are not known as instructors, but known as directing staff.
Yeah.
The officers are expected to come pre-learned and pre-prepared. And in the classroom, you are expected to clear your doubts. So that every day you are actually clearing a couple of subjects and all. I realized under this pressure, the originality or original thought process was getting, I would say, restricted.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody is trying to make time, finish the assignment, present the plan, and get over with it. So I said, okay, we are losing the originality in this. So in staff college, in my division at least, I used to say that one plan which you will make, which is like you're submitting, fine, I'm not bothered about that. I want one maverick plan. We will discuss a maverick plan after all your wargaming and this thing happens. So any war game. And I always used to encourage them, come out with one maverick plan for every exercise. That used to be great fun. And there people used to think left, right, completely differently. And then used to come out with fantastic solutions. So we have so that's where the design thinking also helped me, this pushing for the maverick ideas, maverick plan. I said, I will not judge you. There is no judging anybody in this. Come out with the vaguest of ideas, but come out with something different. So those interactions, those things were really nice. All my upbringing in the army and, that innovation part and creativity part, I would say that our survival, very survival dependent on how innovative we are or how creative we are on ground and day-to-day activity and force. Because none of our all system and equipment are created for our situation. But ground situation changes every day.
Absolutely.
Every day. So to adapt that particular system in a different circumstances requires a lot of ingenuity, a lot of innovative mindset, a lot of creativity. So since that particular thing was always there, I always tried to inculcate that as an instructor into the student, is to think differently. There is a standard plan, which you are doing it under time pressure. But let's find some time to think completely different and try to find a different solution. So that was very unique. It was great fun doing that.
I agree with you. So in this, if I ask you one more thing, you were as a probationer when you were made to that 20 kilometer and then you were put and then you didn't know that how to run and then you were guided.
I didn't know that you're supposed to run.
Yeah. So now I am asking, when you become a probationer officer and you some of the probationer to do the probation, did you bring some changes in that philosophy?
I thought a lot of things had changed. Actually, what happens is that then the probation length had increased. And so there is a complete overview that is given to this the probationers. Then the whole probation is to get divided into two parts. Initially, there was adequate time given for them to build up physically. As it is, when they come, we expect them to be coming for probation totally physically prepared. So from the day one, your BPET test and all other physical tests starts from the day one. Your test starts immediately. So in that, it was not only me, it was systematically it was done that you try to, you first lay out the whole probation thinking, this is how you will be tested. So there is, they should also not think that, some Baibandi is taking place. And in that, midway, through the course. We give them an option. A lot of people drop out. A lot of people want to drop out. They say, enough, I can't handle it anymore. So then we used to give them an option. Okay, if you raise your hand now, say that I'm done with it, I can't continue with it. What we will do is we will remove the raglapatti out of it. And then we will teach you good thing so that when you go back to your unit, you would go back a much better equipped, much more learned in operations rather than your counterparts. So that also became a very good. So we used to take it as an opportunity, when we took it as an opportunity to train somebody for overall development of the whole Indian Army. Whoever comes, we will train them thereafter.
Yeah.
We will give them time, but we will train them in battlecraft and fieldcraft properly so that he becomes an asset to the battalion where he's going. He should not go back dejected. Oh, as a failure. See, I failed in the probation. That stigma, he should not carry the stigma back. See, he is not suitable for SF. SF is a one kind, but he's still a good officer of the Indian Army. He is still a good soldier. So keep his respect, keep his dignity, train him well, make him an asset for his battalion. That actually helped quite a lot.
Definitely, it must have. At least for an individual officer who doesn't go with the stigma of failure,
yes.
At least he's going in high spirit.
And these are young officers. Majority of them have just come out, just volunteered with a lot of hope and all. Yes, your mindset is not there. You are not built for that. It is not your fault. It is not your fault. You are not a bad person. It's just that you don't meet the requirements that we need, this particular organization needs. That is all.
Ajay, you mentioned about this when you were part of chief instructor, senior instructor there in DSSC.
Staff college.
That, yes. Staff college, that thinking is a very important part. And yes. I too agree that in the entire life, the thinking is good, you can succeed in life. Because the thinking makes you feel, and that feeling brings emotions, and emotions brings your decision making, and decision brings your action, and action brings result. So it's a whole cycle, because once the result is there, which is good or bad, again you start thinking. So if everything starts from the good thinking, so how you design the thinking itself so that the entire life cycle becomes perfect?
Okay, one thing I would encourage whoever is listening is that read about design thinking. Design thinking is a process that changes your aptitude and attitude towards how you see a problem, how you look at a problem, how you tackle any issue. So it's everything. So we in staff college, we teach critical thinking also, critical thinking, innovative thinking, and I introduced design thinking in staff college. Yeah. Everything that we do in life, everything is about another human being. And we must realize or take into consideration how a decision of yours, how a thing that you're doing is going to affect another human being. Whatever you do, you should always keep this in mind. It is applicable in every aspect of life. I would say one of the key reason, now looking back into history, key reason why I was successful in CI operation is because my relationship with the locals in Kashmir. I have great friends now. I mean, those friendships that were developed at that time continue still now. I go to Valley without, even while I was serving, I used to be picked up at the airport by civilians. I used to roam around in Srinagar in CVs with them. And evening, they will drop me to the military station. So I developed that kind of bond because of human relationship. Okay. So this comes with a positive thinking. The right thinking. When you think right, when you think positive, you come up with more options. Okay. So in this, I would take a little bit of time to explain what is design thinking. In our way of problem solving, all of us actually are doing what every day-to-day life is. We are doing problem solving. But it is seen that most of our problem, we don't even know. The problem that has been coming to us, is that the correct problem or not? There is no investigation into the problem first. Okay. So design thinking is an attitude that you will develop to first try to understand and identify the correct problem. if there is an issue. So you develop this attitude, this thinking process. Design thinking is all about human element. If there is an issue, you will understand what is happening in that area. You will live the life, wear the same shoe which the people are facing the problem. It is also seen many a times when people are facing a particular problem, they get so used to the problem, they don't think it's a problem at all. So there's somebody from outside can only identify that what you're facing is actually a problem. But before that, you have to understand how they are facing. In army or generally for us, especially men, everything is action-oriented mind. We see a problem based on our experiences, our mind gets biased into the moment we see an issue, we think, okay, this is the problem. And we immediately relate to our experience. Okay, earlier this has happened, this was the solution. You immediately plant a solution to that problem without
Put a
even
template.
investigating. Yes, without even investigating into the problem. Okay, we have not wasted a single moment to understand whether this is the right problem or not. So design thinking is basically a system of 5 steps, which are interlinked. These are not sequential. These keep looping back. First is to identify what is the problem by empathy. The word empathy means is that you got to live the life of what the people are facing, what the environment is facing, what are the stakeholders are facing. You understand him, understand his pain points. Once you've done that, then you will define the problem. Now you will understand what is the right problem. So there'll not be one problem statement. There'll be multiple problem statements. You will develop multiple problem statements. There are beautiful examples in army. When I wish I could show it in a presentation point of view, beautiful examples in the army in this. The army created understood the problem wrong, created a complete wrong solution and thought everything is solved, but everything failed. There are many examples. So once you actually define the problem statement, then you ideate on that, do brainstorming. The moment you think the problem ideation, you will again relate back to the stakeholders. Is it actually, relating to him? Yes, to empathy. Again, you empathize. Again, you ideate. Again, you define. So when your defining has been done, you're finally defined, finally understanding what is the problem. Then you create a prototype solutions. Small solutions to it. And again, relate back to empathy. Is this prototype helping him?
Yeah.
That is the step. After when you have come down to some good prototyping, some good prototype which is helping, then you put it onto proper test. That is the most important thing. Again, if the test is not giving the right solution in the testing phase, then again go back. So each time you look back. Now, this particular thing can be applied to developing your own life. All the young people who are listening to it, you can actually apply design thinking in your own life. There is a thing called prototyping or living through the life that you want to do. There are beautiful examples in YouTube. If you search design thinking, how it helps life, design your life, there will be enough presentations in that. There are beautiful presentations. A lot of people have worked on these things. So I would seriously recommend everybody that should learn about design thinking, should study design thinking. It will greatly help everybody, not only in their profession, but also in their personal life. It's all about thinking, thinking.
I fully agree with you. And if I can say, finally leads to the win-and-win situation for everyone.
I won't go to that extent. I would say that if your process is correct, if your mindset is correct, if your outlook to life is positive, everything is possible. Most important is when you wake up in the morning, do the things that needs to be done. One more thing I would say that all the young viewers of yours, I would recommend to go through a video on YouTube of Admiral McRaven when he gave a lecture to the passing out graduates of, I think, Texas University. So you just write Admiral McRaven address. That's an amazing address, amazing thing, which he addressed a particular graduating university, and I think in Texas or something. I met Admiral McRaven when I had gone to US Special Operations Command, a fantastic gentleman, a great officer.
Is it that video where he starts saying you morning get up and make up the bed first?
Yes, that is the one.
Yeah,
That is the one.
I have
It's a beautiful. He gives example from Navy SEALs. He's a Navy SEAL guy.
Yeah.
So he gives example. Very, very apt. And we actually have gone through all this. In IMA, what do we do?
Yes. Yes.
We do our bed first. We wake up,
Yes.
you have to make your bed, and the instructor comes and sees your bed. You do the chem in cupboard somewhere else. Simple.
Not only IMA, we still do it. The first thing we do it in the morning is the same thing.
Even in my life, like every morning I get up early morning, I first do my bed, clean it up, and then I go for my run or for my exercise or whatever I have to do. So even doing the first couple of things right in the morning sets your mind right. I will also give an example of from football. I would say from the childhood when I used to play, we always used to say that first touch, first time that you get the ball, make it go around your players. Everybody gets the ball first, touches the ball properly, makes the first pass correctly. When you do that first couple of things correct, it gives us tremendous self-boost, self-confidence increases, and then everything falls into place.
All life learning by everyone, the great people is the same. At the end of the day, I find it is something like रास्ते God को ढूंढने के different हो सकते हैं, but ultimate goal is one only.
Yes, everywhere. I mean, I say that find your happiness.
Yes.
Ultimate goal is to be happy.
Absolutely. I fully agree with you.
Yeah. So find your happiness. Find small things which makes you happy. Do that. Yes. Initially, you asked a question. Somebody asked, how do you deal with sadness when you're down?
Yeah.
The sadness can only be cut by happiness. So find your happiness in small things.
Yes. Yeah, there are a few more questions which have come up, and then we wind up.
Yeah.
Somebody has asked how people with specs manage probation training. Is there any restriction?
Sorry?
How people manage probation with specs?
Oh, okay. Yeah, there are people who did the probation with the specs. Yes, there is a problem. I got specs much later in life, after I finished command and everything. And I used to go for trekking after that, a lot of operations. I used to find it really, really difficult to wear specs and do it because at night when it is raining, when you're actually crawling through the muck and all, the specs gets wet. It's a terrible problem. But there are people who are actually in the forge with the specs and they are managing it. So you have your contact lenses. There are new technology now, the new operation, a lot of advancement in the eye surgeries and all. A lot of people, my own course mate who were there wearing specs during the IMA training time, after he joined the SF, he immediately did an eye operation and got it corrected. So whoever can, they have done it. But otherwise, there is a specification to join the army. There is a limit that within which your eyesight has to be there. So there is within that permissible limit, if your eyesight is there, even if you are wearing specs, so be it. People have joined army with these specs.
Fantastic. This somebody has asked, can you share your para jump experience? Maybe briefly you can mention about that.
It's amazing. So I will how it relates to the fear factors. Earlier in another podcast, somebody asked me the fear factor. So the first para jump when we went, when I was still a cadet in IMA, I told you second term. So what happens is a para jump. It's a training of 16 days, out of which 12 days are ground training. In ground training, they make you go through huge amount of physical exercises and physical training as to how to absorb the shock when you land, and also various emergencies that happen in parachute while you're jumping. Okay. So by the time when you go for your first jump, your mind is so drilled into the actions. Everything is a muscle reaction. So every aspect is a muscle memory. There is no time to think. So first time we go for our first jump, we stand there. Okay, action station. Because earlier before the jump, you're sitting. You got your hook onto the cable. Your static line is hooked into the cable. You're sitting. And you're in your mind constantly, this is running. Okay, the moment I go out, my position will be tight. My chin will be tucked in. I will count 1 to 5,000. And suddenly the order will come, action station. Action station means you stand up. You fold your seat, the action station. Now you're standing. Again, okay, check your parachute. So you're supposed to check the previous guy's parachute and the static line is clear. Everything is happening like a drill. Okay. Then, okay, yellow on. You know, yellow on is the light. When the warning comes, you are absolutely get ready, get your position clamp, get into a running position. Then suddenly the alarm bells and the green on starts. When you're just jumping, getting out. And that your mind is completely occupied in the drill that you're supposed to do. Make your small position. Okay, count 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. So when you say 1,000, it occupies the space between 1 full second. Okay. So 1,000, when you say, that means 1 to 2 seconds, the gap it has covered. So 5, when you say 5,000, is the 5 seconds has elapsed. By that time, the parachute is open. So the moment parachute, you get jerks, parachute open. Okay. Look at the canopy, everything is fine. Look left, look right. So by the time you do all the drills, you are already coming down, you are halfway down, and suddenly you realize, okay, then now the land is coming up. So you say, okay, Jameen Nazdik, Sakt para position. These are the, the points that they say, okay, Jameen Nazdik, Sakt para position. By that time, you can immediately get your equipment set and, get into a tight position and ready to get the impact on the ground. And you learn so much of rolls and all. You forget about all the rolls. You just fall like a sack. And you your head hits the ground and all. You stand up and all. Ah, what a relief. So there is no time to think at that time. So your first jump, your second jump, or your third jump, it's all like a drill, like a muscle memory. There is no time to think. The fear comes on the fourth jump onwards. That's when you get slightly comfortable. And then the mind plays havoc into what all can go wrong. Then the fear sets in. Then you start actually getting scared of the jump. But then slowly and slowly, you start enjoying the jump. So what happens now is that in a static line jump, where so less is in your hand to control the thing, you don't have a control on the wind speed, you don't have a control on what is happening on ground, you don't have a control on the parachute, how it gets wrapped, if it gets wrapped, so that anything can go wrong. You start enjoying that fuse. If a person says that I'm still not scared of jumping, he's lying. It's as simple as that. So you feel that tingling feeling on your spine, your hands and feet feels numb, but you start enjoying that. So that's the fun of jumping. That's the fun of parajump.
Yeah. So I know you got the answer now. Anand, it was Anand. Yaswant, Brigadier Ajoy has already detailed description of Operation Kukri. So you go through the video after this thing. And one more question he has asked. He says that there have been 3 ambushes in the past. Have you ever been caught up in the ambush, and how did you get out of that? How did you revert back?
Many times. Initially 95, 96, number of times used to go through the ambushes. So it is, what kind of ambush, firstly, how far is the militant they are firing from, and how do you react? So we have a very set pattern. Firstly, the way we move is not to get caught in an ambush. So route selection is very, very important. So there are a couple of thumb rules that I had to follow. Never be predictable. Number one. Your route into an operational area and route out in an operational area always have to be different. Okay. In order to stop myself from being predictable, I actually stopped planning the route out. I always used to plan, okay, let's get out of the post, because to get out of the post undetected was a challenge in itself, because everybody's observing and they will pass the information. So there was every day you have to innovate, how do we get out of the post first? So we used to get out individually at different time and from different places, then RV at a particular point, get together at a particular point, from there we used to go. So there are a number of times we had to do that. So the number of times it has happened that you anticipate, if you plan well, if you read the militants well, you can anticipate well. And that is how you can deal with the ambush and convert an ambush, in a militant ambush, into their ambush. So this has also been done. I'll give an example. So there was an information we received about a couple of militants coming for a marriage party. And that village was next to a river, and there was one solitary road which was going that way. So initially, quietly we went. We got the encounter. We got 2 militants. Now my biggest fear is how do I go back? Because it's the same road. In my own unit, we have lost 5 people in similar condition in a different time, in a different area, where they went in on the same route. They were coming back. ID was blown in that bus and we lost 5 guys. So I always had a mortal fear of, getting back from operation. So I used to say that we have to be 200% more alert on our coming back from operation till the time I've actually moved in securely into my camp. So that I realize it's now a dangerous position. Had I been the militant, I will definitely ambush it. So what do? I had my vehicles also. So I didn't put anybody in that vehicle. Into the driver cabin, one side I put all the bulletproof jackets and sandbags. We used to do that. And he jammed him in a manner that the driver remained safe. So then we moved the foot column ahead, striding the road up to a particular point, and then the vehicle will fetch up. Again, I will go move, again the vehicle will fetch up. This is how it will happen. At one particular point, they did fire. They did fire on the vehicle, thinking that the forge is going. But luckily, the driver and everything, so he just fired on the tarpaulin, couple of holes in the tarpaulin, and that's about it. Nothing happened. Otherwise, the moment, so there are anti-ambush drills. We have to react violently. Your spacing, how you walk, how you move, has to be so drilled or organized that you don't come into their killing ground. So every ambush has a killing ground. If your party doesn't come into the killing ground, the whole party, they will not spring an ambush because they know that people ahead and people behind will react back and then you will get it. So if your drill is fantastic, if you're really skillful in this manner, you can avoid being ambushed. And like I said, this particular incident, like this, we avoided an ambush. And there are many such institutes, like innovative way of dealing problem. Another incident I will tell you, we went for an operation in a particular village. Again, the same route back. What do? We had one bus and it's the night time we were coming in a bus. So I told the bus driver, firstly, everybody, we will sit on the floor so that from outside, nobody can see anything. I told the driver, switch on all the lights. Play your music in the loudest possible volume. Bring down all the shutters so that the sound will go outwards. So I had sniper and LMG on top. It was dark, so nobody could see. They were all lying down on top of the bus and everybody below on the floor of the bus. From outside, if you see, a bus is coming, which all lights on. And I told him, keep blowing your horn. I mean, make the whole world realize that there is a bus coming and play your music loudly. But this was counter to what a militant will expect. If a forge is coming back, it will try to come stealthily. It will try to switch off its light like the way we go for ours. So on a reverse wise, I did exactly the opposite. With full sound, blaring, lights on, it was blowing his horn. Nothing happened. We came back. So I don't know whether they laid an ambush or not or what happened, but I would say that we all came back safely. So this is, again, we have to innovating, keep being creative in every day in Valley to stay alive.
This is what differentiator. How you think differently, and this is the design.
So the ambush, defeating an ambush, coming out of an ambush, like I said, the number of times it has happened, violent action, good planning, good fieldcraft, battlecraft, and a violent reaction is the one. And people already, the word spreads, okay, this unit is damn good. Don't take panga with them. So that is also there.
Last question, Ajay, because the question ki to line lagi hui hai, I don't want to more. We'll keep answering later. 31 RR mein, is it a different probation? Somebody has asked. Or
No, it is a similar probation.
Same probation.
Yeah. No. Everybody has to go through the probation. Because after all these guys from Jacklai, Jackrif and the Para or the Ladakh Scouts, now it is Ladakh Scouts again, they will change. So who are non-SF guys, and you see 31 RR is a combination of people coming from all SF battalion. Everybody has a different drill. Everybody has a different way of operation. So everybody has to be brought together into the same common practice. So that is achieved in this probation.
Okay.
We also check that whether they are fitting like the other guys who are coming, whether they are physically fit or not. How good is their firing skill? I have sent back people home, back to their unit. when they have failed the probation. So the probation standards remain the same.
So it is probation is the same as of para special forces.
Yes. In the time duration is slightly less because in RR the time, because it's a it's kind of a just for 3 years deputation. So, you know, so the time for the probation is less. Again, the 2 months, 3 months only. But they have to go through the probation. Otherwise, you'll
So
be sent
Anand,
out.
you got the answer of yours. Ajay, I learned a lot from your conversation today, and so I'm sure my viewers must have learned a lot. And what a Operation Kukri and whatever you talked about design thinking and your operations otherwise, whether Bashir Afghani and all, is a eye opener. It's a eye opener. And I must thank you on behalf of my viewers and myself that great job. And thank you so much for sparing so much of time. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. So lastly, I would say that probably I was lucky and they were, so there are a lot of unsung heroes. There are many, many people who have done probably 100 times more riskier operation than me. And so if there are any military officers who are watching, I would say that never go by what the awards burn on the chest. It's just a pure luck. Somebody got lucky like me who get to wear a couple of awards. There are many more who are probably have done a much better operation, but for some reason didn't get awarded. So everybody has a story to tell. Every person has a story to tell.
Absolutely.
So I would say that I'm lucky that I've served with a lot of heroes, a lot of my friends who have sacrificed their life for the country. My course mates who died for the country, my students, Vijan Thapar in Kargil, Sumit Roy, Kalia, they are my students. I was an instructor at that time. And they are the real heroes. Harshan, they are the real heroes. I just say that I'm very lucky that I could actually share some time with them, that I came to know them. That's my great, I would say I'm very, very lucky to do that. That's my...
Wonderful.
Thank you very much for having me.